I haven't watched any Kevin Smith stuff, but I watched this little
that's
short film on YouTube called, is it The Flying Car?
Okay.
And I was surprised by how much I enjoyed it, actually.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm talking about? Like, is it?
I'm now looking to remind myself.
It's just a conversation basically a guy has with
Yeah,
his mate in
sure.
the car.
Well, it's the guys from Clerks,
Right.
Randall and Dante. So I don't even remember why he did this.
I don't know, but it's just a short film. So, do you recommend?
Yeah,
like...
it was on the Tonight Show. It was like a little skit they did just for like. It was supposed to be, so Clerks 1 and Clerks 2. They're now bringing out Clerks 3. So I think like a couple of years ago, this was just sort of like a little thing to be like, you know, Clerks is still a thing, and they're still like the characters still exist, kind of thing. So.
Right. Okay. So, did you watch the Clerks 3 trailer?
I did, yeah.
Thoughts?
Well, I mean, it's Clerks, so I guess I'll watch it. Clerks 1 is like one of my favorites. So.
Fair. I find that with a lot of Kevin Smith stuff, obviously there's like quite a hardcore fan base there, but it's not. I don't know. Like, I assume the quality's not always there. Basically, you know what I mean?
What do you mean?
Well, like, I assume every single one of his films aren't phenomenal. Otherwise, they'd be bigger than they are.
Oh, yeah. There's definitely one that like I just hate.
Oh, okay.
Which is Tusk. Have you seen that?
Oh, I know that one. Yeah.
Have you seen it though?
No.
Yeah, I recommend don't. It's not even funny how bad it is, to be honest.
Okay.
Like it just makes me kind of like I don't know. It's something about it makes me uneasy.
Don't like the
extremely.
Cut of the jib.
Yeah, like it's like a movie where I don't like the cut of his jib. Yeah, that's kind of like a good way to describe it.
Fair.
I'd say.
We talked about that saying on this podcast, right? Was it this podcast?
I think so. I can't even remember now.
We spoke about it. I've been thinking a lot about that, Jay, because
okay.
I realised that there's a lot of people I don't like the cut of their jib off, but do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm like that too. There's quite a few people where I'm like that.
One of those. How are you, anyways?
Good. How do I describe this? I'm just trying to like find my footing gaming wise. Just trying to figure out where I'm at, like in my head, and like what to look forward to and what to play in the meantime, kind of stuff.
Sure.
And I think I've finally got there, but I'll talk about that in a bit.
Yes, you will. Because, Jay, this is the TGO show.
It is.
Where the Nightowl Nic and the Goldilocks gamer himself, Jay Balls, discuss video games.
Yeah.
Talk about lots of different stuff, really, but if you listen, you'll find out. Or if you read the timestamps, you'll find out too. Just a quicker way. And you won't see us in all our glory, and you'll miss the exclusively delightful content discussing Kevin Smith films. Jay, you haven't actually sort of told me if there's a starting point I should go with there, by the way.
Like, Clerks 1.
Yeah.
You want to do all the Jay and Silent Bob movies.
Are they any good?
I mean, I feel like they're somewhat necessary. It's almost like the Kevin Smith, universe, as it were.
Right.
The KSU. You definitely. I don't know. I would genuinely just watch them in the order they came out. They were released. But totally skip Tusk. I haven't watched
the
Jersey Girl, although I don't think that counts. Like, if we're just talking about Kevin Smith movies, I haven't really watched like all of the ones, but I've watched all the ones that are to do with Jay and Silent Bob and Clerks and like all those. The ones that are sort of in that universe, I've seen them all.
Sure.
You definitely want to see Dogma. You definitely want to see Chasing Amy. You definitely want to see more Rats. But yeah, just figure out the ones. I'll have to write a list and then I'll give it to you, because Chasing Amy is. I told you about this before, but Chasing Amy I watched once when I was 15, and I will never watch it again because I have a memory of how good it was. I don't want to ruin that memory.
Nice.
But I know it's phenomenal. So.
Nice.
Same with Dogma's like a classic. It's just really good.
No, fair. I think my dad had like a DVD copy in the lounge.
I mean, I have it. I have the Kevin Smith movie collection. I've got Clerks, Chasing Amy, Jay and Silent Bob, Clerks 2, Mallrats, and Dogma. I have them all. I'm looking right at them, and weirdly, Bloodborne is sitting right on top of
it. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he had like a DVD copy just laying around the lounge, and then I picked it up one day and I'm like, oh, Ben Affleck, oh, whatever, and then like I looked like directed by Kevin Smith, and I was like, what? I don't think Dad ever watched it. Someone must have told him to watch it, but I don't think he did. I can't imagine he would have liked it, to be honest. But anyway.
Okay.
Jay, you commented on my T-shirt there.
I did.
I'm just gonna have to tell you and everyone else listening. It's one of the best shows I've ever seen.
So it's like the 2-pack thing, right, with the holograms or whatever.
It's way different.
They did it with gorillas. I know they did it with. Who else did they do it with? They did it with the gorillas characters, not the actual people.
Yeah. Frank Sinatra, Whitney Houston. I think they've done it
with
for.
A bunch of people.
But I've got to say, this is way above that.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't see the Whitney Houston, Frank Sinatra ones, but
I feel like it's all the same technology. So I mean, What? I mean, I can't imagine it. I mean, it's literally the same technology. I'm pretty sure.
All I can say is
I know they've developed it recently, but
everyone who likes ABBA to some degree needs to go watch that show.
Okay. Where was it? You say it was in London?
Yes, it basically they've set up their own little arena next to Olympic Park Stadium.
Oh, okay. Fair enough.
Yeah.
I'm glad you enjoyed it because I know how big of a fan you are of ABBA. So.
It was incredible, Jay. I cried like a baby. It was unbelievable.
Good.
It was
good
unbelievable.
To have a good cry. Really good.
It completely caught me off guard. I was just like,
well, yeah.
Why am I having such an emotional reaction to this? Yeah, it was crazy. It was mental.
Was it just you and your other half then?
And her sister. Okay. They actually convinced me to go, Jay, because I'm like, holograms or whatever. Like,
yeah, I was gonna say, that to me that doesn't really sound like up your alley, but clearly you're very glad that you did it this time.
Correct. Okay. It was crazy, Jay. Crazy.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Thank you. Shall we get started?
Yes, please.
With the good stuff. Oh, got a little bit of a hiccup there. In Iron Man 2, Stark shows videos of failed attempts at replicating his suit, including one created by who? Ivan Vanko, Justin Hammer, Senator Stern, or Obadiah Stane?
Damn.
Good question.
That is a very deep question, because the last time I watched Iron Man 2 was fairly recently, but not that recently. I think I was watching it on TV, like a random thing. I want to say Hammer. Just because I know he's the guy who was like, he's the one who was like trying to make the new ones anyway. So.
Right.
I feel like if it's C or D, it's just because I forgot who they are in particular. I think say C and D again. What are the names?
Senator Stern and Obadiah Stane. You know who Obadiah is?
Is that what's
Jeff
his name's
Bridges.
character? Yeah. And then Stern, I don't know, I can't remember. I'm gonna go with Hammer though.
It is Hammer.
Okay,
congratulations.
God. Jesus, that's a very niche question. Not a lot of people know a lot about Iron Man 2. I feel like Iron Man 3 people liked more, but I don't see why. It was the worst one.
Oh, don't be ridiculous, Jay.
I will say Iron Man 2 is when they introduced Black Widow as well. So.
Yes, it is. And War Machine, right? Yeah. Jay, we must be getting through this box. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if in the next few shows, like,
well, it depends how many cards are in there.
140.
Well, yeah, we'll be doing this for we'll be doing that for at least another 2 years.
Nah, but I skip loads, mate, because some of them are so easy.
Do the easy ones, you know.
Oh, nah, I'm not giving you that. I mean, you can do if you are. I just don't think you'll get much achievement.
You'd be surprised. There'll probably be an easy one where I'm like, I have no idea.
I mean, all right, fair enough.
You never know.
Fair enough,
yeah.
Jay.
Yeah.
Jay, do you mind if we start with my topic this week? Would that
go
be okay?
for it? Yeah, I'd love that. I would absolutely love that.
Okay, we'll transition us to the old topic screen, and I have gigantic news for everyone, which I'm very excited to talk about, and I'll try and not scream down the mic. Jay, by the time this recording goes live, so I'm basically counting it because that's how much faith I have in my abilities.
Okay.
I will have platinumed Bloodborne.
Yeah, that is very odd. That is a sentence
Jay,
that I would never thought would ever come out of Nick's mouth.
me, you both. Me, you both. I mean, where do we start with this, Jay? This is literally the biggest thing I think that's happened to me in terms of gaming for maybe ever.
Actually, I have a question. The dungeon thing you've been doing.
Chalice Dungeons,
Yeah, is that part of the main trophies, or is that like an additional trophy section?
part of the main trophies.
Wow. Okay. Fair enough. All right.
So they're probably in the game at launch, I
Must
think,
have been.
because of that. But yeah, Jay. Just a quick catch up then, I guess, for everybody. So I have dabbled in the Soulsborne genre games. Never particularly liked playing them at all. Watch people play them quite a lot. And tried Dark Souls 2 or 3 times. Didn't vibe with it. Tried Bloodborne 4 or 5 times. Didn't vibe with it. Kept getting stuck at the bit at the start with the bonfire and all the people,
yeah,
right?
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, and Jay, the only way I can describe it is I woke up one day and something just clicked in my head, and I was just like, I'm going to play Bloodborne. I really want to play Bloodborne, and I played it, and I got past the bit I was stuck on, and then I think it's when I unlocked the first shortcut, I was like, oh, okay, I've reached something I can, lean on and go back to. Like I've reached a checkpoint, if you will. And I was like, oh, I can do that. I can definitely do that. I can 100% do that again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I was very safe with the blood echoes, right? Like I rarely wasted blood echoes. I was never risky, right? I was like, okay, I got 10,000. I'm gonna level up. Like I wasn't like, I'm just gonna keep going to see what's behind.
Oh no, you always level up. You never save. That's stupid.
Yeah, 100%.
As soon as you've got enough to level up once, you just do it.
100%.
Yeah, very
100%.
very safe with that.
So naturally, it just all went from there, Jay.
It's funny because what you're talking about that like safety to lean on, is what every Souls player goes through. Like that is basically how a Souls player gets through a game. Is once they've gotten to a point, they know that they can do it in their head. They're like, right, I know I can do that again. If the game's going to get hard from here, I mean, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. At least by the time I get there, I'll have hopefully like gained more skill to be able to do that in the future. So yeah, no, you're living exactly how it should be done. That's it's been designed that way to a degree, So
right. Yeah, it's completely blown my mind, Jay. I'm shocked that I mean it's
a good game, like it's
a good game.
It's loved by millions of people for a reason. So
right,
and I think you now know why.
Yeah, it's one of those where yeah.
The thing is, you got to think, right? All Dark Souls games or all Souls games have that level of story. Every single one. And some can go deeper. I think Elden Ring is probably deeper than that, honestly.
And bigger, obviously, right? So
yeah, to a degree, yeah. Just depends how you look at it, honestly.
Yeah, it's shocking, really. I mean, I don't even know where to start. Like, clearly, I just got into it. My head clicked, and then as soon as I realized, like, okay, all I've got to do is reach the next checkpoint, and then I can just rely on that, right? Like, there is going to be a point where you're like, okay, got the bonfire or whatever it is, like I'm good to go, you know what I mean? I've got the lamp, I'm good, I made it, Yeah. So when I realized that, I was like, oh yeah. And I think, to be honest, Jay, I think this might seem weird to you, I actually think the stepping stones were laid by other games. I really do believe that. So Tunic, for instance, which is a bit of a Zelda like, those bosses are quite difficult in the game, and I think that was perhaps a stepping stone to being like, it's okay if you die, don't worry about it, just go again, you know what I mean? Or like, no, I can definitely do that, like I can dodge that next move next time, and I can definitely do that, you know what I mean?
Well, yeah, you're basically just talking about like, game design, in that developers deliberately put things in to make it so you have to get good at the game. They won't hold your hand as such.
Yeah,
they'll deliberately make things, leave them as they are, and then if you can't get through it, then you just got to get better at it. Just practice more. be a bit more patient. I think a lot of the time in Souls games, patience is key. Like knowing when to be aggressive, knowing when not to be is like it's basically like a really the extreme version of like most games that have boss battles in them. Like Final Fantasy games as an example, you've got to learn the patterns and know when,
Right.
like learn the move sets of the enemy that you're going against. Like I think this is definitely my issue. I'm not as patient as I'd like to be sometimes when it comes to that stuff. It honestly
Oh,
depends
in the
on.
moment when you're
Yeah,
like
I mean,
fighting and stuff.
each game is different. I've found Elden Ring was good like that. Like you could be patient, or I feel like patience is key for Souls games. Honestly, a
Sure.
lot of the time. Sometimes you can just spam your way through it, depending on the type of enemy. But yeah, it's patience is definitely key.
Yeah,
I
it's
imagine you figured that out at some point.
yeah, I think so.
And also just
I
being
was
able to
always
use the mechanics properly as well. Like
right.
sometimes you don't necessarily need to use all the tools that you have, but other times you're going to need to use a certain tool. It's going to make the fight a lot easier. It's part of the reason
Yeah.
why they give you so many tools to work with.
Yeah, exactly. And like I had no hesitation in either using, firearm or weapon or like even a summon because I was just thought, well, the game designers have put this here for a reason. Like,
Dude, don't even start on summons. It is
well, I
such a
don't.
massive debate in the Souls community in terms of people think that if you there's a certain group of people. I don't know how big this group is, but there's a certain group of people who believe that if you use summons, you it's almost like using a cheat, like using a cheat code.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
like that you're not playing the game properly. It's like, well, why the fuck are they in the game then?
yeah, exactly.
It's like, oh, like I hate that. I'm like, no, use summons as much as you need to.
Yeah.
Gee, I hate that so much. That's such a wanky way of looking at it. I hate it. That's
Yeah,
just,
totally. Because you can always go. Okay, first of all, summons cost in-game resources, so it's not like they're
yes.
free.
And they're also some of them can
Second,
be hard to find. Like the really really good ones,
yeah,
you've actually got to you have to earn them. They're like you get rewarded by finding them. Sometimes you got to kill a. I'm not sure how it is in Bloodborne, but in Elden Ring at least, you have to kill some really hard bosses to get some summons.
oh,
So
fair.
yeah,
Yeah, no, totally. It's and also secondly, you can just always take one step further with that argument, can you? Like, oh, you got hit in that boss fight. Well, why didn't you do it without getting hit? Or why
yeah, I
didn't you do it
guess.
with a level 1 weapon? Or why didn't you do it as level 1? Like, you can always take that a step further. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you can
Like,
always do one more, but no, that's
so
just
like
being
it's is
unreasonable at
what it
that
is.
point. Yeah.
Yeah, like ultimately for me, RJ, so weird, man. It's been such a weird journey. Like, I can't stop thinking about it. I can't stop playing it whenever I get the chance, right? And that's obviously the sign of a great game. But I've got to be honest, Jay, at no point, okay, the last few days, there's been a couple of points where I've had
Yeah,
to walk away and just think, I
yeah.
need my brain to process that and come back to it. And then usually you do it in the first 3 or 4 tries, right? I don't know
I've
why, it's
been
just
like
how it
that on what
works.
I've been playing as well. I'm doing a very similar thing where I've had to sort of like come in and come back out and yeah,
Right.
look
Totally.
at it with a
And
bit more of a fresh mind.
yeah, literally. But like, I've got to be honest, Jay. For most of the core game, I didn't really hit a point where I was, stuck on a boss for 3 hours.
Yeah, that's
Um,
kind of what I like about Bloodborne
yeah.
it's definitely. I mean, I spoke to you about this before, but if I was to recommend Souls games to people, I'd be like, play Bloodborne. You
Mm,
will find that easier, and you'll have a much nicer time with it. Even with how difficult it is, still, like Bloodborne is definitely the easiest, but not by a lot, not by a big margin. It's by a very small margin, 100%. Yeah.
yeah. And like you say, I think, to be honest, Jay, I don't think I learned the patience only because I was so hesitant and scared in the first place.
Mm.
Like, I've seen people play this. I
Yep.
know that every enemy I'm going to have to treat like it's the fucking end of my
You
world. You know
have
what I mean?
to
Like,
give the game respect, like a massive amount
yeah.
of respect, because one mistake can cost you your death. Being too, rushing in too much. Yeah, I think you made a good point there actually about like being hesitant is almost like being patient, like but not
Mm,
realizing that that's what that's what you're doing. So
right,
that's
right.
probably why some people do well sometimes, is because they actually like give it the respect it deserves, honestly. But with hesitance rather than actual respect or patience.
Totally, and it's been a crazy ride. I don't know whether it's. I mean, maybe some people say I was over leveled, but I never grinded for levels in that sense, like at all.
I think
But like I
it's
managed
hard
to
to be over
do
leveled, honestly.
well. That's what I'm saying. And like Jay, I've never played any of these games before, and I'm gonna boast and say, well, I say boast. I'm just gonna say the fact that I did a few bosses first try. So
Yeah, me
I
too.
don't think that I think it's way more accessible than the internet makes it out to be. To
It's
be
the
quite
most
honest with you.
accessible one, 100%. I think most most Souls games are like that. It's just that it's taking that first step is the hardest thing for most people.
Yeah.
And I also feel like Bloodborne was like a good stepping thing for me. I think it might. Well, it was kind of. It gave me. Dark Souls 1 was definitely the first like my like. Oh, I can do this. Like I've finished the game. I've completed it now, so I can probably do the next one kind of thing. And then
Right.
Bloodborne just reinforced that even more. It was like, wow, I actually think I'm better than I thought I was.
Right.
And then
Right.
then I finished Dark Souls 2 and 3 right after that, and then now playing Elden Ring and everything. It's kind of like, yeah, like I'm a Souls player, you know. I know how to do it. It's like
Totally.
riding a bike. Once you've done it enough times, it just clicks right back in. And it's a
Do
great
you
feeling.
think? Do you think? I've got so many questions for you, Jay, about
Please.
the games and stuff, right? So, do you think? Okay, I think one of the reasons that the games are so popular is because they remind you of your childhood gaming because you get stuck and things like that, or there's bits that are hard. Whereas a lot of games these days they do handhold. I know we've had it a million
I think
times.
to a degree that is true. Not to a massive one, but in a small percentage, I imagine that's true. Yes.
Mm.
That's more of a
And do
like
you?
subconscious thought, I think, rather than a conscious one.
That's fair. And do you also think? I think I already asked you this, but the other games like these games, and I don't mean just difficult games. I'm talking about your Lords of the Fallen, your Surges, and all that kind of
Mortal
stuff, right?
shells, yeah.
Exactly. I assume it's a bit like Destiny, whereby the original is still the best in the genre,
Mhm.
ultimately,
Yeah.
or the original developers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
fine.
100%.
And Jay, yeah, this has opened my door now because I'm definitely jumping into the other ones.
I'm actually glad you said Lords of the Fallen because I have that game, but I never really played it properly. I need to go back and check that. It's one of those ones that I've looked at and went, I really wish I would have enjoyed that more when I first played it. But yeah, I'm glad you reminded me of that because I need to check that out again.
I think it was an Xbox free Game of Gold,
Yeah,
maybe, but I don't know if you
I
got from
do
that.
have it.
But
I think PlayStation Plus even had it for free as well at one
oh,
point.
okay, fair, fair.
So I'll check.
So yeah,
Yeah.
so my journey, Jay,
Mm.
I found that playing Bloodborne, doing the bosses and that. Obviously, I remembered a couple of them from watching people play. I didn't remember a few of them though, and I think just so whenever so like one of the difficulties, Jay, is don't play this game like bits at a time because you're going to forget where you've been and where you need to go.
Yeah.
Is my opinion. So I nearly missed all of Upper Cathedral because like a few days later I came back to it and I forgot about that bit that you drop into
Yeah.
to get the key sort of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I knew that was there because I remember looking at it going, how do I get in there? And then I've obviously just gotten sidetracked and forgotten about it. Whereas if you play this game for like a week or 2 weeks straight, you're probably gonna hopefully pick up on a lot of things. And I did try and explore. I missed a few things, but I did try and explore,
Yeah. You're
and
not.
I found
I
quite a
mean,
few bits.
unless you're following a guide, you're not going to be able to find every place. So. I
Right.
mean, you could, but it would take you a long time. It's funny, the
And
bosses that I remember are only ones from the very beginning and the very
right.
end. I don't remember any boss from the middle. I reckon if I
Yeah.
saw it, I'd be like, oh, I remember that boss. But if I to memory, I just can't. Like, the beginning and end of the game is so memorable for me. The middle was just a bit of a blur because I was so focused and just in it. I was like, dush, 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 boss, boss, boss. Just couldn't remember what anyone looked like, honestly.
Totally. Totally. Jay, I would argue that Father Gascoigne might be
Classic.
one of the most infamous bosses ever at this
Now, here's
point.
a question for you. Did you
Yeah,
use
sure.
the music box in the boss fight?
Here's one for you, Jay. Didn't even find the little girl.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Very easily missed. It's one of those things where it's almost like a secret help. Because they do that in Elden Ring as well. There's a couple items that you can find that help you in particular boss battles, but you can completely miss them. So
Right.
very easily done. But I think
Yeah,
that's where
I'm
they
good.
did that. So.
that's another example, Jay, of something which, because I played it in well, not big chunks, but because I didn't play it every day. Um, so when okay. So I've tried doing that first bit in Bloodborne a million times, right? And at some point during those attempts, throughout the various last few months, I forgot that the lamps meant there's people there. So by the time I got to the child, as in the windows and stuff, like there's little
Sure.
lamps next to everyone. So by the time I got to the child, I just forgot that the lamps mean there's someone there. Do you know what I mean? So it is what it is. What it is. So
Yeah, easily done.
did you find the like the music box in that, or because did you follow guides for games like this?
No,
Because
I think I knew about the music box, but I wasn't fussed about using it. I was like, yeah, I just want to play. I don't care about going
fair,
out of my way to find it.
fair,
I
fair.
think I think it took me two tries to do that boss. I think I died the first time, did on the second one, from what
I
I can
think me
remember.
too.
Weirdly though, I think I did the first boss first time. I was like, oh sweet. But I think it's
Nice.
because I'd seen people do it a million times.
Right.
So I was like, yeah, I know what I'm doing on this one, but the rest I'm kind of a bit confused about. So
Yeah, it's been very interesting. So, and it was also one of those, Jay, where I sort of got to 3/4 of the way through the game, and I was thinking like, I don't know, like, I haven't got to a bit yet where I'm like, oh my god, that has now happened in the Chalice
okay.
dungeons,
When you
with
say
a
oh
few
my
of the
god, do you mean
bosses.
like
So
stuck,
yeah,
or do you mean like amazed by what you've seen? I'm confused.
no, sorry, I meant more as in like I'm gonna throw the controller out the window
Oh,
because this
the
is unbelievable.
frustration level. Okay,
Yeah,
understandable.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't think I actually ever reached that point in Bloodborne. I don't think I ever got like necessarily like so stuck that it frustrated me. I've only ever done that in weirdly out of all the Souls games, I think I've done it in Dark Souls 1 and Elden Ring so far. They're the only two.
Nice.
I was lucky, I guess.
No, yeah, no.
I
I
don't
mean,
know.
could
Bloodborne
be
was probably the
some true
most
skill.
enjoyable experience, other than Elden Ring recently, that I've had with a Souls game. Although Dark Souls 2 and 3 were great, honestly. So
Cool. What is it about? I think the thing that makes Bloodborne great is because it's got that bit of a faster pace, bit more aggression,
yeah,
and like
yeah,
you say, like doesn't seem maybe quite as stressful as
a little
I don't
less
know,
stressful.
Smaug and
Yeah,
Orstein or something like that,
yeah.
right?
It's a lot
What
more.
makes
What's the word? Like the healing capability in the game is slightly different.
totally?
Yeah.
Because if you farm, you're always gonna have 20, aren't you? So
Hmm.
yeah. Or however many. So Jay, what makes Elden Ring like along that line? You know what I mean? Like what
What you
makes that
mean?
more enjoyable than your Dark Souls? I guess because
Oh,
as
I
far as
see.
I'm aware, it's
So
basically an open world Dark
yeah,
Souls.
that's basically. I think that's the part. That's like part of it is that it is much in the same as Dark Souls from previous, because previous Dark Souls were very linear. Like you couldn't really go outside of the one particular area you were in. It was like area in a line to a degree. You had to always like fast travel to a different section or whatever.
Sure.
Whereas Elden Ring, you can just sort of go where you want at any point. Kind of like I'd say the game is split up into like two or three, maybe four sections, and you can't really get to the second section or even maybe the third and fourth section until you've like done particular things, like which is much the same as previous ones. Like it is really much the same. I just think it's honestly it's one of the hardest things to think of, like why Elden Ring is so much. It just feels like an improvement in general. Like it feels like it's taken everything that was ever a slight annoyance from previous Souls games and just fixed them and then made it all smoother. Like there's no real like having to think too hard about what to do next. Like it just simplifies everything, I think, to a degree as well. They also do a thing where I was going to bring this up a little while ago. I don't know if this applies to previous Dark Souls games, but because there's many, I think there's about 15 different areas technically. Like if you want to be technical about it, but each area almost has like much like in an MMO, it has like a recommended level for that area. So the starting area is like recommended 0 to 20 or whatever. The second one is like
Does the game tell you this?
no,
Sorry.
it doesn't. But it's sort of like what people have figured out by playing it so much. There's a map
Sure.
online you can look at that tells you exactly what level you roughly should be. Like I've been in levels that maybe required, or areas that required you to be maybe like 60 to 80 when I was like 30 to 40, and I was still doing okay. Just because maybe I had like found a really good weapon or bit of armor, or maybe just because my skill was slightly better than what most people would recommended for that place. But it does soon start to get like serious. Like there's definitely like maybe halfway through the game when you're like, right, I need to like level up seriously now, kind of thing. But I don't know if that applies to like things like Bloodborne and other Dark Souls games. It doesn't feel as obvious as it does in Elden Ring. So I feel like there's almost like more of a recognizable progression in Elden Ring versus previous Souls games. The progression seems just sort of like natural in previous Dark Souls, whereas in this one it seems like there's a bit more of it feels more like a ladder, which you might think is counterintuitive, but when people can see what they need to be level wise to a degree, it almost, I think, makes them be like, right, well, I now know what I need to do versus I don't have to guess what I need to do. That makes sense? There's just a little less guesswork. It's hard to put into words, really, but that's
no, I get that,
about
because
as good
there
as
were
I
some
can
areas.
put it.
Yeah, no, there were some areas in Bloodborne where I'm like, okay, so for
Should I
instance,
be
what I was going to
here?
say, yeah, exactly, because for instance, I was going to say this earlier, like so there might be 2 or 3 different routes you can go down or areas to explore, and it is a bit like, which do I do in what order, right? So like you get access to the Nightmare Frontier, and you can do Amygdala, and you actually the game kind of wants you to do that before you go through to fight Murgo's wet nurse, right? But it doesn't really tell you that. You kind of just have to trial it and see, like, am I going to die a lot in this
again,
area?
that's like amazing game design in that it's trial and error, right?
Right.
It also requires you to play the game longer. It again forces you to get better at the game if you're thrown into the deep end, as it were, like more of a challenge. If you think that is the next part of the game, you don't realize there's a slightly easier bit on the other direction, then you're just going to potentially just stick with that area and you're going to level up as a person, and then once you go to that other area, you'll find it easier, I imagine. Which then in turn makes the frustrating bit you just had into more of an enjoyable experience, which makes you want to play the game more, and then the loop continues. So
exactly, and it's surprising how many areas and bosses I would say are more enjoyable than frustrating, at least in my experience.
I guess, yeah.
Well, like for instance, so the Forbidden Woods, horrible. But like I don't even know. The Hemwick section I thought was quite fun.
Yeah, I feel like any area that has poison or any sort of like status effect is always the worst area in the game.
Oh my god.
Yeah, Frenzy sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah,
totally.
they've got that in Elden Ring as well with is it Blood Rot? I think it's called. I can't remember what they called now. Scarlet Rot. There we go.
Fair.
Yeah, not an enjoyable experience.
So Jake, here's my proposal to you then. So my rough order was going to be Dark Souls 3.
I have something to say about this, but go on.
Okay, Dark Souls 3, Dark Souls 2, just because it's on sale. I've seen Dark Souls 1 play too many times to play that in the near
there's
future.
no need. You can skip it. It's fine.
What, Dark Souls 1?
Yeah, you can skip it. I mean, it's just like a really rough version of 2, 3, and Bloodborne, really. It's just like it doesn't look great. I feel like the graphics haven't changed much.
Well, there's a remastered one.
I mean, yeah, I mean, do what you want, but I mean.
But no, what are you gonna say?
I just know. Dark Souls 1 is a classic, but it doesn't really need to be. I feel like you're gonna have a less enjoyable time. It's probably gonna make you not want to play it.
Well, that's what I thought. That's kind of my fear.
I feel like Dark Souls almost feels like if you could, I guess if you considered each of the Souls games like a different generation, like Dark Souls 1 is like the great grandfather, you know. Like it kind of needs to. You need to respect it, but it's kind of like it's not. It doesn't feel modern anymore. It just feels a bit old.
Well, a lot of people before Elden Ring came out, a lot of people thought Dark Souls 1 was still the best one, from people I know that like the genre.
Well, yeah, that's more of like just because it's a classic and it was the first one. Not technically, it was the second one because Demon's Souls was the first one. But...
Right.
I don't know.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right, fair
continue.
enough.
So you went 3, 2, 1 is what you're saying.
Well, okay, let's
For
just
some
say
reason you're
3-2
going
because I
backwards.
wasn't. Yeah, 3-2, and then at some point Sekiro because I'm gonna borrow it off my mate, and then I think I'm missing one here. No, maybe I'm not. And then Elden Ring, and
I'm glad
basically,
you said borrow from someone. I'm glad you didn't say buy Sekiro.
okay.
Because I'm I'm kind of currently playing it right now.
Wow.
Kind
Okay.
of. Like, I'm in it maybe like 6 to 8 hours I'm in. And it is the hardest one. It is the hardest one.
Really?
It is easily the hardest one. I'm not enjoying it. Not really. It's tough.
Because it's completely different combat, right? Like,
Different game. Completely different game.
Right. Okay.
Completely. It has the same foundation of all the Dark Souls games, much like how Bloodborne does, but it's a completely different game. Like, I mean, it isn't, but it is.
Okay.
Like, it's not.
Do you...
I had the same thing that you had.
Yeah.
Where I had to get to a checkpoint for me to be like, oh, I can do this. But the fact that I had to do that again, even though I've completed Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, Bloodborne, and close to doing it with Elden Ring, I've played 5 Dark Souls or Souls games, and I still get that same feeling of like, oh, I need the checkpoint to know that I have something to lean on. I still have that. I had that in Elden Ring, honestly, to a degree. But Jesus, I mean, that's the thing about Souls games is they never really get easier. Like, to a degree they do. Like, your skill, once you play the game for long enough, it will get easier. But once you move on to a different Souls game, it's just different. Like, so I'm trying to think of like a really good analogy. I guess it's like going from a cycle or like a bike to a motorbike. Right. Kind of. Like, it's got 2 wheels. Different monster, you know, different beast to slay or whatever. Yeah, it's I honestly kind of want to see how you fare with it. If you're going to borrow it, because that's amazing. But I wouldn't say buy it. Definitely don't waste your money, 100%.
So yeah, so you wouldn't necessarily buy Sekiro sort of brand new.
Well, I already have.
Or on sale.
I think I got it on sale actually. I think I got it maybe 20, so it wasn't that much. But yeah, no, just because I wouldn't know if you would actually like be. Like, I'm only just starting to get to that point now where I'm like, can I do this? Like, the initial hour was like, oh god, I don't know. I really don't.
Well, I suppose you're learning a whole new system, right?
So early, it was insane. Right. I think I've tried playing this game twice before. Like, I've done the same thing you did with Bloodborne, where I tried it and I was like, nope, cannot do that. That's nope. But yeah, I gave it a bit more of a shot this time. So I'm sort of like dipping in between that and another game that I'm playing. So.
Okay.
But I think I'm going to give Sekiro. I'm putting it on the back burner at the minute because I'm playing something else properly. So.
Okay, that's really interesting though. Like you say, Jay, it's surprising that someone who's beaten that many Soulsy born the games.
Yeah.
You know,
Sekiro's a different. Like, it's got a mechanic in it to do with the death, the way that you die in the game, that I'm just not a big fan of. Like, it just doesn't like. Half of it is great, the other half of it is terrible. I'm just not a fan of it.
Interesting, Jay, because
even though Sekiro it is like probably the most well-designed death mechanic I've ever seen in the game. Like, it's necessary. It's just I'm not a fan of it.
It's interesting because I think that was one of the. You remember? I think I spoke to you about this, but like every Souls game that comes out, people are like, yeah, it's the most accessible, and at the same time, they're like, yeah, it's the hardest. Like every single time one comes out, people say that, right? And Sekiro was one of those prime examples where it came out and people were like, yeah, if you don't like any Souls games, I'd recommend Sekiro. And then you have the same people saying it's the hardest one. Like, genuinely.
If I was to say someone play the Souls games, start with Bloodborne, and end with Sekiro. Play Elden Ring before Sekiro. Jesus Christ.
Really?
Jesus Christ, yeah. Because chances are you're not going to like Sekiro. If you get into Souls that heavy, chances are you're not going to like it as much.
Okay.
It's tough.
I heard you can be quite aggressive in Sekiro though, which sort of aligns with Bloodborne.
It's the most aggressive one, 100%. But the thing is, it's also the most one that you need to be the most patient in as well. It's one of those games that have both ends of the extremes, but they're both fairly necessary. So.
Okay.
And I've also gotten to the point now where I've only just now leveled up the amount of like health that I have and the amount of damage that I deal. So I might actually better get a bit more into the game now. I don't know.
Got yeah.
But that's one of those ones I'll come back to, and I'll just sort of like touch it every so often. So.
Sure, just dabble.
Yeah,
Well,
dabble
just
in
to
it.
finish up this very long conversation about Bloodborne, my journey to platinum, like I say, the main difficulties being the chalice dungeons in terms of some of the bosses, which are very difficult.
Mm.
Aside from that, it's been fairly straightforward. The only real obstacle I've got, Jay, is that I never thought I would ever platinum the game. So I didn't like look up, what should I do on the path to platinum.
I'm surprised actually,
And then
because that must mean that you had to go back and find all the weapons, right?
I had to go back and find a few, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
because
did, yeah.
that's one of the. I know that's one of the trophies because I remember doing it, but
Yeah.
I think I did it as I went along. I like followed a guide in terms of where to find the weapons. So.
Right. Yeah, I missed a couple of the badges. I actually missed one of the badges because I can't remember his name now, but the hunter with the Gatling gun on top of the building in Old Yarnham, he fell and I couldn't get his thing, and then I went back and it wasn't there, but it was actually at the top of the tower. But anyway,
Oh, okay, that's good.
yeah, it was fine. But I'm also doing the DLC, Jay, because DLC was on offer, so I'm not midway. I'm doing the DLC now, the Old Hunters.
I will say, I think
which,
most
again,
people
is quite
say
difficult.
that is the best DLC that's ever been released for a Souls game.
Oh, right, okay.
From what I've heard, people say. It's the one that has, I think, the most impact story-wise as well. But, just because I know I saw more about the Hunter stuff, so
yeah,
I'm not like fully in depth knowing about it. But
all I can say is the first boss was pretty impressive.
Sweet.
Pretty impressive. But yeah, I'll let you know how I get on with that. But now that I've started the Old Hunters chat, I've basically got to finish that before I finish the main game. And furthermore, I basically have to complete the game twice because I missed an umbilical cord because I wasn't following the guide.
Oh,
I
no.
did. So I've got to do New Game Plus just to get this umbilical cord, moon presence stuff out the way.
I was going to say, which one did you miss? Do you remember?
Yeah, well, I missed two. So I got the two that you can get. So I got the one in the old workshop and I got the one from Murgo's Wet Nurse. And then I actually fought Isefka before. Yeah. Is it Isefka? Before, like, she's pregnant and shit. And then I also missed. I didn't even find. I sent mate. I sent everyone to Isefka's clinic, so they all became alien. Oh, yeah. Spoilers, but
yes.
So I basically screwed myself over.
Yeah, that is one of those things where it's definitely missable if you don't know what you're doing, but that's like so easily done. Easily done. Like,
I just thought Isefka was just like a little mini boss thing. I
also can't remember actually if you have to do 2 playthroughs for that game, because I think there's definitely there may have been a choice where you can only make one choice per playthrough, and that's how you get different types of trophies. I could be wrong, but
you at the end, yes, most people just upload their save data and then download it. After,
I don't think I did that. Right. I think I actually just played the game again.
Oh really? So have you done New Game Plus?
I think so. Yeah.
Is it doable? Is it easier?
The only trophies I didn't have were probably the dungeon ones you were chatting about. So.
Okay. Did you do you know if it's easier? Because mate I know said it was easier, but
well, it's easier just because you have more, but it's technically harder because whenever you do a New Game Plus on a Souls game, the enemy's HP goes up, the amount of damage they do take goes up, and I think the amount of damage they take requires more as well. So they're tankier, do more damage, and have more health.
But does that equivalate to how much your character's progressed? Do you know what I mean?
No, I think it's just like a certain percentage. I recommend just googling it because I could be totally wrong. I know this applies for most Souls games, but it might be way different for Bloodborne.
No, and also you did answer my question, but I also meant like, are you still a bit OP because it's New Game Plus ultimately?
Well, yeah, technically, because you're like, you have the amount
of muscle
memory.
Compared to what the bosses are, like would you get stuck more on Father Gascoigne New Game Plus?
It would probably be about the same.
Okay.
Just because you have the knowledge now,
That's
just funny. Scary. I think I actually found that the end boss, one of the easier ones to do.
Okay.
Which was weird. How did you find the end boss? How was it for you?
I haven't done it yet.
Oh God. You haven't?
No, because I've got to finish the Chalice dungeon. I'm at the final boss, and I've got to finish the DLC, and then I'm doing 2 endings, and then I've got to do New Game Plus and do the final 3 umbilical cords.
Interesting.
What? Why?
it's weird because the end boss is probably the most memorable boss of that entire game.
Oh, okay.
It's
All
just
right.
so. It's just so great. Like that, the end boss was definitely what tied it up. It's like, in a nice little bow. I was like, oh, that was nice.
Okay, fair.
That was nice.
Fair.
Yeah, I can't wait for you to
Okay,
experience
good.
that. That's gonna be great.
Yeah, well, obviously, I'll let you know when I actually have popped it. Obviously, I'm going a bit ahead of the gun here, but I don't give a shit.
You're definitely,
So,
definitely
yeah.
ahead of the curve.
I mean, I'm confident. I'm confident.
Good.
Although doing those bosses again has suddenly put a weird anxiety
I
into me,
recommend
even though I have
just
done
like
them.
if you want to do the umbilical stuff, just skip as much as you can to what's
Sure.
necessary to be able to get those umbilicals, because you're gonna find yourself getting very annoyed that you haven't played the game a second time through.
Sure.
I know I did. That almost ruined it for me. I was like, ugh.
Sure.
So yeah, enjoy it. Enjoy it while you can, honestly.
I will try. I think you can skip quite a few of the bosses, to be fair, can't
I mean,
you?
yeah, there definitely is like a streamlined way to do it, and it doesn't take that long. But yeah, just do some research.
And you also know all the areas, and you know most of the shortcuts too, so it's
yeah,
not too
you also
bad.
know your way around. So that's handy.
Yes. Yes.
Mm.
Yes. So anyway, Jay, let's move on. That's enough about that. Very exciting time for me, but let's move on. Jay, let's do you want to do your topic or the news?
We'll do my topic and then we'll come to the news.
Yeah, let's do that. All right.
There we are. I say my topic's maybe
Also,
a lot shorter than yours, but we'll see.
Say again, sorry.
My topic's probably going to be a little bit shorter than yours, but we'll see.
No, that's okay. I mean, that's all right.
I've already spoken a little bit about it.
Yes, we have. If you can hear Abra in the background, you need to let me know because it's downstairs. So.
I can't hear anything.
Cool. All right. Carry on, please.
I can hear a very faint or something, but I can't. I can like only because you said something. If you hadn't said anything, I wouldn't have noticed. But all right, sure. So you're gonna like this. If we're talking about platinums, I platinumed Horizon.
Fuck off.
Yeah, platinumed it.
Are you serious?
100%.
Are you serious, bro?
It didn't take that long either.
I mean, guys, this is arguably, I'm going to say, just as exciting as my
it is
endeavors.
basically the equivalent because you've been wanting me to finish the game for a long time.
Oh my god, I did not expect that.
Yeah, it took me almost exactly 24 hours to beat the story, and then about 26 and a half-ish hours to do platinum. So
wow.
only an extra 2.5 hours after I finished the actual story that I was like, oh, I've done everything. That's good.
Okay. Right, so we need to have a full-on breakdown, Jay.
Yeah, go on then.
So, when we caught up, right, and because we were chatting on PlayStation or whatever, you said you were playing it. You did say you were skipping most of the dialogue. Was that the case for the whole game?
I probably only skipped the side quest stuff. Anything main story I'd actually listen to.
Okay, all right.
So I understand everything now. I also basically collected every single thing that you can possibly collect, like all the things you have to scan, like all the audio logs, and
wow.
I think I've only got about like 30, maybe 20 or 30 to find. Ones that I just didn't find. So, and that wasn't even on purpose. I just happened to, I saw it on the map. I was like, I might as well grab it. Be cool.
Yeah. So, what do you think of the game overall, Jay? And then we'll dive into different elements. But what did you? I can't believe this. This is blowing my mind. What did you think of the game?
What do I think of the game? I think it is. You can tell it was definitely like you said before about stepping stones. It was definitely a stepping stone in terms of like games that preceded it. Right, there's a lot of like mechanics in there and the way that the game plays that I've definitely felt like, oh, I've experienced that in games since then. Like, not that people have copied it, it's just that developers have thought, well, that might be a good idea to evolve that mechanic or evolve the way that thing works and introduce it into our game as well. I couldn't give you any examples, I just know that's just how how it's been, I think. But it wasn't a Game of the Year 2017?
Nah, Breath of the Wild took a lot of the awards that year.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, I feel like 2017 was a very influential year for games.
Huge, mate, huge.
Like, so many games spawned from that year.
And unfortunately, Elden Ring will likely oversee Forbidden West this year too. So
yeah, and also something else, but we'll talk about that in a bit.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's funny if you had asked me what would I rate the game like out of 10 before coming back to it, I probably would have said maybe like a solid 7. Just for the fact that it's
Okay.
like I know how good of a game it is, just because of what I've seen so far. But if I was to rate it now, I'd probably give it somewhere like 8.5, maybe. I'd probably give
Okay.
it maybe like a 9, just for the fact like that there's not really anything wrong with the game. Like it's just a really solid, great game. Like story is pretty phenomenal, honestly. Like now that I know
Yes,
what I know.
Jay. Yes,
And it
Jay.
actually, it's funny. You're probably gonna freak out about this, but I'm very tempted to play Forbidden West now. Like chances are I'm gonna get that game. Like if it's on a good enough sale, I'm probably gonna get it.
I've had it on my wish list for some time, so if it's on
Yeah.
sale, I'll let you know. But
Yeah,
I
you'll
don't
have
think it's
to
on
let me
sale
know.
yet.
I don't think I'll buy
It,
it for anything less than or anything more than 30. Like 35 is a maybe.
I think,
Anything
Jay,
over
dude,
35, I don't think I'll touch.
I think if it goes on sale, it's going to be 50 or 40 quid personally, because it's
You
70
got to
quid,
think,
right?
right? It's technically, if you want to buy Horizon now, it's 16 quid, and that's
Right.
including the DLC. So, and it's been 5 years, and
Yeah.
Forbidden West came out this year,
Yeah.
February, I think. So I'm probably not going to be playing that game another 2 or 3, 4 years, maybe. So until it goes on sale,
Yeah.
like enough of a sale, I'm not going to get it. But yes, it is. I'm definitely going to want to find out what happens. So
Oh
I
yes,
need to
Jay.
know.
And there is just a quick one. There is a 5-day trial you can get on the PlayStation Plus Premium package if you fancy bashing it out
Oh,
in
I
5 days.
see. Like if I had like a
So
week
yeah.
off and knew that I could do it in those 5 days, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Because if it only took me 26 hours to platinum this Horizon, I imagine it'd probably take me somewhere in the ballpark 30 to 40 on the new one. And if
Well,
I
hold on a
played
minute.
10
Sorry, you
hours
said
a
I thought you
day,
said the main story for 26 hours.
no, platinum main story was 24, and to
Yeah.
platinum only took me about another 2.5 hours after that.
Oh my god, Jay! It took me like 45 hours. You must have been skipping so much, mate.
Yeah, it was primarily just all the side quest stuff. I wasn't really fast. I was like, yeah, I don't.
Fair
really,
enough.
don't.
Fair
The
enough.
side quest stuff actually kind of didn't annoy me, but it was kind of like I only care about the
I
main
thought
story.
you meant 26 hours on top of the story.
No, that would have been buddy 50
Oh,
hours
okay.
total. Are you kidding me?
Mate, I was only 50 hours, but anyway.
Nah, definitely not. No, that's. I think I also enjoyed it because of how short of a game it was too. But I will say the best things about it was probably the enemies, the weapons, and like the way you could modify stuff and the way that the weapons interacted with the like the enemies. I thought the whole thing about having to break off stuff and trying to hit weak points and being able to scan and figure out what the weakness is, like all that is just genius. I love that. I can see why some people loved it. It is just a super solid game, and I would happily recommend it to anybody. And I'm not disappointed or like I don't regret not playing it sooner. I'm just happy that it's out of the way now. You know that I've done it. It's ticked off the list, and it's also given me another game in the future that I could potentially look forward to. So
Yeah.
happy
Do
about
you
it.
have the DLC? Are you
I
you
do
planning
have
to
the
jump into
DLC,
it?
but again, it'll probably be one of those things that I just it said. I mean, I looked up. It should only take about 7.5, 8 hours to do. So yeah, I'll get that done. I might even do a new game plus at some point as well,
Cool.
just to
Alright.
see if I can get all the trophies.
So I mean, like you say, Jay, it's a solid game.
Super
I think it
solid.
borrows from a lot of games, but like you say, also it's sort of just set a precedent in that most open world games, that's the kind of formula and stuff. What I would
Yeah.
say to you is imagine playing that 3 years before Ghost came out, because I kind of see them on a similar level.
Yeah,
You
very
know what I mean?
similar. Very similar. It probably would you say it's part of the reason why you enjoyed Ghost so much?
In the sense that when I played Ghost, I'm thinking, oh, this is like a Horizon sort of game, in
That's
terms
weird,
of the
that
open
because
worldness.
I obviously played Ghost first. But the thing is, I didn't
Right.
think Horizon was like a Ghost game because obviously it came out before. But I also didn't
Right.
think Ghost was a Horizon game. I just thought Ghost is Ghost and Horizon is Horizon. Like, yes, they share similarities. I mean, you could even make a similarity between any sort of game that really has any sort of parrying mechanic or like just a combat with a samurai sword. Like, I think I know people have like made comparisons between Sekiro and Ghost, honestly, because they do share. It's funny because Sekiro should be one of my favorite games of all time, just because it is the main combat mechanic is basically the same as Ghosts, which makes me believe that you'll actually enjoy it a lot more than I think you will. But it's just, imagine like the Ghost combat, but like 3 or 4 times as hard.
Okay.
That's what Sekiro is. It's just like it's like trying to play Ghosts on like the hardest difficulty, but harder.
Well, to be fair, Jay, I played Ghost on hard.
I know you did, which is probably making me think that you're going to enjoy Sekiro. So yeah, do with that information what you will. But yeah, I'm glad that I played Horizon. I'm glad it's ticked off my list, and I'm excited that I platinumed it. Because initially I finished the game, the 24 hours, you know, I actually left it for a day. I was like, I'll go play something else. And then I thought to myself, well, I can't, like, I looked at the trophy list and I was like, it can't really take me that long. And I literally just sat there for like one night and did it all. So I was like, oh, okay, that wasn't that bad. Sweet. I'm glad I got it done. Yeah, I'm very happy about it. What I will say that this is going to be the weirdest thing, but the biggest gripe about the game that I have, or one of the biggest ones, is I'm not a massive fan of Aloy. She kind of gets on my tits a little bit. Okay. She's almost to the point of like can't what's it, the jib thing? I can't remember what it was now.
Oh,
don't like the cut of her jib. Yeah, I'm like, she's like 95% of the way there.
Okay.
Like, I'm not saying that it should have been like, it's funny, I actually like her attitude. I like the way she sounds. There's just something about the jib, just something that I can't quite pinpoint, where I'm like, I wish he'd maybe been slightly more like this or slightly less like this, but I can't particularly. That's just like one of those gripes that I can't really, you can't really do anything about it. So it's whatever. The character's written how they're written, so it's whatever. But no, other than that, I'm trying to think. Was there any other character that I actually enjoyed more? I actually think Silence is a better character, honestly. Like, I prefer the way. I wouldn't have wanted to have played as Silence, but I don't know. He seems like a more interesting character to me.
He is a very dynamic character. I think who hasn't played the second game.
The biggest thing about Aloy that I enjoyed was just like her actual origin, like her story, like who she is in the story. I think that's probably the biggest thing about it. Right? I think that's probably not the only reason. One of the biggest reasons why I actually enjoy her as a character.
No, it's very cool. Yeah. To be honest with you, mate, I disagree. I really like Aloy. I think she's great.
Whatever.
I didn't get too annoyed by her at all, really. I got probably a little bit annoyed by more some of the side quest characters.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah, but I never really like. I love her origin.
Forbidden West makes me fall in love with her a bit more, or just enjoy her as a character a bit more. Maybe there's just like. Maybe I just didn't think she had as much character development as I had wished she'd had. Like, it all felt a little bit one note, like, to a degree. I think it was kind of like 2 notes, maybe. That might have been my gripe. I'm not really sure. I haven't thought about it too much, but
fair play.
I don't know.
It's so do you?
Yeah.
Okay. There's a few things, main things I want to talk to you about with this game.
Go.
So let's start with the world. What do you think of the world?
Yeah, that I told you this off podcast, but I thoroughly enjoyed the fact that there were like different biomes almost, like different environments that you could go to. There was like a desert area. The starting area is primarily like all sort of snowy, like barren, snowy, kind of like craggy. Then there's like a foresty, almost like a tropical foresty type area. And then there's sort of almost like a Middle Eastern, kind of like Moroccan, kind of like tribal thing going on in the middle of the map. I was like, yeah, this is just great. Like, if I love that it isn't all one note of like area. You know, there's actually different places, and it all kind of feels nice. Like different. There's like verticality depending on where you are. There's a lot of like flat land depending on where you are. It felt a lot like an Assassin's Creed game in that way. You know, like if you're in the city, it's probably going to be flatter, and you know, obviously there's buildings, but if you're like in the country somewhere, weirdly though, I guess AC Valhalla, I don't know. I just like there's different levels, you know, different levels and different things for me to visually enjoy. Like, it isn't just all one color and all one landscape, you know. So yes, I enjoyed the world thoroughly. Good. I like the campfires. Good. The campfires were like one of the best things about it. The fact you could fast travel to those, oh, lifesaver. Totally. Wasn't a fan of the mount. The mount was too slow.
And a bit weird
And
to
it
control,
didn't,
right?
yeah,
You
very
said off
weird to
pod, yeah,
control.
yeah.
Jesus Christ, that was awful. But again, that's one of those things where I'm like, oh, they improved upon that in like later games. Other companies improved upon that, and you could tell that they had tried to improve upon that from previous games that had come up before that. Because I know AC1 had a mount, and it didn't feel that great, but I feel like it was very similar to how this was. Like it just felt like it was very basic mount, kind of almost like it was secondary to what the game was. Like that was maybe like introduced later on. Either that or they just didn't know how much they could improve upon it at the time. Technology wasn't quite there. I'm not really sure, but
Sure,
yeah,
sure.
no, enjoyed it.
And I know you've already touched on the gameplay side, but what did you think of the core bow and arrow mechanic? Because I thought that was one of the most ingenious things I've ever seen for a AAA game to have their main mechanic like that, with
Yeah,
the bits falling off and all the rest of it.
yeah, no, that is like that. Probably one of the biggest sellers for the game, I guess, in that it just feels like it's very tactile. Like it feels. It's hard. Like you usually say it's about fighting games or about like maybe some other games, but the combat just felt nice. Like it didn't feel. A lot of it isn't about what you see. It's more about how it feels in your hands. So as long as the combat feels nice, it's just fine. Like it just felt very. There's a word I'm looking for. Satisfying, just satisfying. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for.
And what did you most importantly? What did you think of the story? Because
yeah, story's phenomenal.
A lot of people
for
the first half to 3/4 of the game, they're like, I'm not sure I'm gonna like this story, and then you hit that point, you're like, this story is fucking awesome.
A little over halfway through, the story like kicks you in the butt, and it's like, here we go, we're off on a roller coaster. Like it's literally like a roller coaster. The first half of the game is just going up the slope, and then the last half of the game is just going nuts around the spirals. That's exactly what it is. Yeah, no, the second half of the game is much better than the first half. We'll give it that.
Yeah, totally. And it is one of those things where you're always like kind of think like, what happened? Oh, this, that. But I don't think so. Like, I had this debate with people many years ago. My personal opinion is we haven't quite had, let's call it, a post-apocalyptic story in the same way that Horizon does it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it was definitely a fresh take on it. Yeah, it was a very well thought out take. And I'm sure there's still so much we don't know that's told in Forbidden West. So I know we're both technically at the same point now, where we're like, oh
absolutely.
God.
Apart from Frozen Wilds, but yes.
Yeah, sure. We kind of just want to know what happens next, you know? Like it really did feel just like, it felt like reading a book or reading a manga, honestly. It's like, I just want to do the next, I just want to see what happens next. I need to know what happens with the characters kind of thing, you know? So.
Yeah, totally. As I say, I'll let you know when it's on offer, but what did
I'm going to do that. I'm going to put it on my wish list just to check as well.
I'm not going to call it a twist, but there's obviously a moment in the game, Jay, where you find out what happened. What were your thoughts on that moment? Because it kind of blew my mind a little bit.
It felt very human, I think is a good way to put it. Like it felt like they could have gone very fantastical with it, and they didn't. They brought it back down to earth. I think it's another reason why the story is so great is that they don't try to make it too fantastical. They don't try to make it too out there. Like they do that. They've done that a lot recently with like TV shows and movies, where they've just tried to make it a lot more relatable to the sort of the human experience versus the alternate dimension, or alternate universe, or alternate reality. Kind of way of looking at things. Like it just felt like it could happen like that. Like the fact that the mistake that was made just felt like the whole thing was basically massive human error, and it kind of made me laugh. It was like, yeah, like that's exactly what humans would do. They'd fuck themselves over, 100%.
Totally.
So yeah, to me it was because of how realistic it was, or not even necessarily realistic, but how human it felt. Is just like yeah, that solidified it for me. I was like, oh my god, this is just. They could easily have made this into like a trilogy movie series, or like a really like a 5-series TV show, and it would have done just as well, if not better. But had the game had never come out and it just been the series or the movies, it would have been like Hunger Games level, you know. It would have been awesome. Like the twist and everything, like the story beats, like it felt very much like a series of books. It's very. I almost guarantee that the writers for this have probably written their own books, if not come from some sort of like script writing background, something like that. You know.
Well, I think the chief writer was the writer of New Vegas, which I think I mentioned to you
I
before.
mean, yeah, you
so,
did, yeah. They're just great at storyboarding. It seems like they're really good at that.
Totally. Well, I am thoroughly happy to hear that news, Jay. Didn't expect it. Good news from Jay and Nic this week for gaming, I think. Great news, in fact.
It's been a rocky week, but a good one.
Well, you finished Horizon, and I've nearly finished Bloodborne. I mean, what more do you want? It's like we've swapped chairs.
I'm currently playing. I don't know if you remember that Atelier Riser game.
I think so.
That out of the alchemy game.
Yes.
Yeah, the Japanese sort of like cutesy manga, cartoony looking one.
On mobile?
I finished. No, this is on PlayStation. I finished the first one last year, and I told you about it on here, and I told you that the second one was already out when I played the first one, and that I bought it on sale, and I started playing it for like an hour or two, wasn't in the mood, then came back to it this week, and I was like, yep, I'm fully in it now. I'm like 8-9 hours in, so I'm like, yeah, I'm locked in.
Nice.
I'll be playing that game until whatever I want to play next is.
Nice.
Which I'll be talking about what I'm playing next in the news section, because that's part of it.
Okay, all right. So, is there anything else on your topic?
No, it's just that. Yeah, that was pretty much it. Just the games I'm playing.
Groovy. All right.
We're moving on to the
news.
Let's
go to the news then, Jay. Yes.
Awesome.
So, as I mentioned to you, Jay, earlier, I can't access the different stories, but most of them are sort of publicly known.
Right.
But just
I'll start.
Jay's getting them up on his phone.
I'll finish with the big stuff, and I'll end with the smaller stuff, because this is.
Okay. Just to let you know, everyone, obviously Jay took most of these from IGN, so do what you will with them.
Yeah, IGN's like my main place. To be honest, it's just easy. You know, it's more of a convenience thing than anything else. I'm a fan of some of the people at IGN, like Ryan McCaffrey. I like their style of reviewing stuff. You know. Also, what's the name of the Australian guy who does all the racing games?
Luke something?
Yeah, I'm a massive fan of him. I watched his review on Neon White recently, and I was like, I'm surprised he's doing that for that. But it kind of makes a little bit of sense.
Nice.
Okay.
Jay, do you mind if we start? Yeah, please, crack on.
Where did you want to start?
Well, I was just going to comment on the Gamepass stuff quickly.
Okay,
but it's
that's good.
Completely up to you.
Yeah, so the Gamepass thing I only really included because there was one thing in there.
So this is new games coming in July, yeah?
Yeah, new games coming in July. There's one game on this list that I've been looking forward to for a while, and it's kind of a weird thing. So I mean, you might be able to relate with this. Have you ever played a game where you have to clear, you have to almost like a scratch card, you have to sort of clear all the debris off of something? But are you the type of person who wants to get rid of every single bit so there's like no little bit left? Or do you just smudge it until it like clicks and then you're good? It does depend, right?
Yeah.
But if you had the choice to be able to like get rid of everything and make it all nice and neat,
Get rid.
So there is a game that came out on PC a while ago that I've been wanting to play, but was like, yeah, I'm not going to pay money to buy that, just because it's like not really worth it. Called Power Wash Simulator. Have you heard of this?
No.
Okay, so Power Wash Simulator is.
Sorry, I take it back. I have heard of it, but go on.
Okay, so Power Wash Simulator is basically you are tasked with cleaning dirt off of like an area, and there's like different areas you can do it. So there's like a whole house you have to clean. There's like a whole playground and like a whole like different areas that are just covered in muck essentially, and that you could power wash like the whole thing. And depending on you have to like get 100% clean of that entire place, and you get rewarded and all this other stuff or whatever. That's pretty much the base premise of the game. And I saw someone playing that maybe like half a year ago, and I was like, I want to play this game so bad, and it's finally coming to Game Pass.
No way.
So in 4 days' time, on July 14th, I will be playing this game.
Dude, is it supposed to be quite good, or?
Well, I don't know. I just think it's just satisfying more than anything else.
Very satisfying.
I just think it's just like almost like that kind of like OCD type thing, you know.
Yeah.
So that's
Well,
literally
pressure
it.
washing in real
you
life
know?
satisfying, you know.
Yeah, I see those videos on like TikTok or Instagram or whatever of like people power washing their drives, and like you can see the difference between
Getting the
like the
dirt
clean
off.
section and the dirt section. That's just so like that's so satisfying.
Yeah.
But they put that
Totally.
into a game, man. So I'll be playing that. I will be
I
playing
was
that.
just gonna I was just gonna quickly say, Jay, Yakuza 0, Kiwami, and Kiwami 2 that are coming to it were definitely on it before, so it's just a bit weird to me that they're coming back on it. That was all.
Yeah, that might have been maybe like a licensing thing or maybe a contract thing.
Yeah.
That might have also
Yeah.
been that they had. I think did the Yakuza games come out in sections where they had like the first couple come out first and then the second couple come out later, or was
Well,
it
they
all at once?
released all of them, and a lot of them are still on there. But yeah, they removed those ones, but they're coming back. It seems.
I
I don't
reckon
know
what
if
it
the others are
was
still
is
on
that they
there.
had a contract for a certain amount of time, and they went right. We're having to. We're going to take the things off, and then in the meantime, we'll talk to you again about whether you want them to come back. And then they were like, yes, we definitely want them to come back. So they added them back for however long. That's probably the what happened, I imagine.
Sure.
They must be doing well. Must be having a lot of downloads, I imagine. So.
Yeah, I'll be
I think it
intrigued to
actually
see. I
is more
mean,
beneficial for that company. Whoever made Yakuza, they probably get paid more. It almost feels like what do you call it? Residuals. It probably feels like what a residual would be like for a TV show for the Yakuza developers, because they're not really like they're only really making money off of the most recent ones, to be honest.
right.
But
They're
it's
just
still
getting extra
Yakuza's like a
money to
massive. It's
put it
still a
on.
massive franchise. So
Yeah.
yeah. What are you gonna say about something? TV shows?
No, I don't know. Don't worry
Okay.
about it.
Where did you want to go next?
Yeah,
Or do you want
I'm
me to
good.
take it?
You go wherever you
Okay.
want.
Tom Clancy's The Division Resurgence. Have you heard of this?
Yes.
Do you know what it is? Did you see the trailer? Did you bother?
Do I care?
No,
No.
not really. Well, I was more curious about the fact that because it's a Division game, and I feel like you kind of like you like the Division or no?
Yeah. So I played Division 2 with you for a bit. I couldn't quite that live service thing. Couldn't quite get into it long term, but enjoyed the time I had.
Yeah, so they've basically just made Division for mobile now. It's not like a direct crossover, like it is a whole new game, I imagine. I think it's set in either New York and or DC,
Washington.
much like Division 1 and 2. I'll probably like give it a 1 day go just to see, but if I'm not into it, I'll probably I'll let go of that thing pretty quick.
Is it out?
No, not yet. I think you can sign up for it, but it's coming out. I think it's coming out this year.
Okay. By the way, I didn't mean to say that I don't care about you caring about it. I just mean I don't care about the game.
I was curious to see what your opinion was, and now I know. So it's all good.
You do.
So these two are fairly what's the word? Short, but like they relate. Forspoken
Okay.
has been delayed to next year.
Right.
I'm pretty sure I called this because me and you spoke about Forspoken and FF16 coming out at roughly the same time. I have a feeling that FF16 might be coming out sooner than you think. This is still like a very.
Okay.
I don't think it is because there's no marketing for it, and there's already been marketing for Forspoken. But there was predictions about FF16 coming out at the same time as Forspoken, but they couldn't because they're both Square Enix games. But now Forspoken's been pushed. It might even be that FF16 gets pushed again. To be honest, I reckon they probably planned it for. We said a bit before about March, April next year, but now it's probably going to get pushed to July, August next year instead. FF16.
So maybe Forspoken takes the March slot and FF16 is in June, July, maybe.
I guess, yeah. Either everything's been pushed forward, or some things. But I don't think they would have pulled back to make FF16 come out sooner. I think they want to keep that in polish for as long as possible, because that game needs to be spick span when it comes out. There can't be anything wrong with it. Like this needs to like Final Fantasy have like a new level of like responsibility now. With the release of the FF7 remake series, like every game that comes out from them now has to have almost nothing wrong with it on release. Like they're almost not allowed to. Like they can obviously, but I mean we're kind of expecting it to be like 99% out of the door, if not more.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Does
I'm
this
just
put?
whatever.
By the way, I think you're on the same wavelength as I was in terms of whether you're going to play Forspoken. But does this put you off even more of playing? Like, do you think
No,
that game?
no. Whenever there's a delay for a game, it makes me more hopeful for that game, if anything.
Hmm.
Because to me, that means that the developers actually give a shit.
See, to me, it means that the game's not ready sometimes, but it's going to come out anyway, like Cyberpunk.
I think had they not delayed it and it been in the state they didn't want it to be, then yes, it would have been, as you say, correct about that. But because they've actually given it the thought to delay it, to me that means they care.
Yeah, sure, and it is different timelines too. So yeah, that's fair.
So yeah. So this next
I was,
one, oh go on.
I was just gonna. I think you did call it, Jay. I was a little bit surprised it got delayed, just because
Oh, it wasn't.
I'm wondering whether it's this team because it's the Final Fantasy 15 team. So I'm just, do you know what I mean?
Yeah, they're a little bit slow on the uptake. I understand.
But I don't know. I'm not going to play this game anyway, so
Well,
it doesn't matter to me.
I haven't looked into it too hard. I definitely don't plan on playing it. But again, if this game comes to like 30 quid in like 4 years from now, I'll probably grab it.
Sure, or
Maybe.
Game Pass, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. Isn't it PlayStation exclusive?
Shit, is it? I think
don't
you're
know.
right.
I'll have to check that in a bit. But okay. So this next one, I might have to give you the lead on, because again, this is one game that I need to play before this game comes out, which I don't think is going to happen now. But weirdly, actually, I don't think I care about that because I'm not buying it day one, so I don't really give a shit.
Okay.
But yeah, God of War release date.
Yeah.
I knew it was coming.
I knew it was coming.
Yeah, had to be this year, right? But I don't think. Again, I think you said it before off the podcast. This shouldn't be a contender for Elden Ring. I don't think. No.
Nah, I don't know what it is, Jay.
I think because of it's being such a late release as well in the year. Get games that tend to release January, February, and then November, December tend not to be too much of a contender for Game of the Year. Tend not to be. Just because they're either so late in the year or so early. But because Elden Ring came out in February, that sort of like debunks that, really. Even though it was late February, it's basically March. It kind of debunks that theory to a degree. Actually, I wonder when Breath of the Wild came out, whether that was earlier or later.
March. That was March.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, March.
It's an interesting theory, Jay. But on the topic of, I haven't got the brain span to think about that at the moment. But on the topic of God of War,
yes,
there's just something, mate, that's not lining up with.
Which is?
There's just something, right? Like,
I don't know.
And I'm not talking about people saying like we're not seeing the game. I don't give a shit about that, for God's sake. But how many times have I got to say it? You don't want to see anything, and then you want to see everything, and then you're like, oh, don't show too much. Like, they're obviously being very specific with what they show, which is exactly what we want, which is what PlayStation's done for the last few exclusives. So it's not unordinary behavior. Stop freaking out. Anyway, more to the matter of Jay is that I'm just not convinced there's only going to be 2 games. I think this game is going to be a trilogy. This new series is going to be a trilogy.
Too, actually.
But they've come out and said it's only 2 games, and I just don't believe them because, like, I just can't see how you wrap up all of these storylines and introduce new characters in the second game and make it in 4 years. I don't see it.
Well, because I don't actually know about the story, and I do actually really want to play this game. Well, the first one at least. Yeah, I'll probably agree with you about that at some point. But until I play the first one, I don't really know anything about where the story. Like, because to me, it's funny. Like, I actually have a question about God of War. Does this new God of War almost not retcon the previous God of War games, but do I need to have played the previous God of Wars to understand the story of this one?
No.
Like, is this a good starting point for someone who wants to be like getting into God of War? I guess it's the only real starting point, to be honest.
Absolutely, and you know enough about the old games, don't you?
Oh, I've played them all, yeah.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
Third one, I think, is the one I played the most. I don't know if you knew about this, but literally almost to the day, a week before they did the announcement for God of War, they had to put out the Santa Monica studio had to put out a statement. Do you see anything about this?
No.
Let me read out really quick. Every single person at Santa Monica studio is working to create a game that we're proud of. One that we hope you will enjoy playing once released. Our fans inspire us and we understand the passion and desire for more information. But that passion should not be toxic nor come at the expense of any human being's dignity. Let's celebrate our community by teaching each other, every gamer and developer alike, with respect. So yeah, basically I think people were pissed they hadn't shown off the release date yet, so they were like sending death threats to the developers or whatever. Usual internet
Oh
bullshit,
my
right?
God.
And this was if those people had waited a week, less like 5 days, they would have got the release date.
Yeah. People
But
idiots.
thing is though, I don't know if Santa Monica had to like push the marketing slightly forward because of this. That makes sense?
Nah, because
Or does it seem about the right
they
time?
made the statement, right? So they made the statement instead of, and frankly, at some point they have to show the release date, don't they? So
I guess so.
kind of makes
yeah.
sense to me. But yeah, I don't know whether it's just me making up something that's not there, but at some point during this game development cycle, I've just decided in my brain, like, I just don't know about this game. I think it will be a really good game. I'm just not sure about whether it's going to hit the way people think it's going to hit. You know what I mean?
No. What do you mean? Do you mean like that it is just like too much expectation out of something?
Totally way too much. There is no way this game is going to be better than God of War 2018.
That's surprising. I don't understand the logic behind that.
It's different development cycle. The God of War reboot had almost no expectation. Let's be honest, guys.
Yeah.
People like the trailer. People like the what's up?
No, I'm just thinking. Go on. I'm saying things out loud.
People like the trailer. I really like the look of the trailer actually at E3, and then the game came out 2 years later, right?
Yeah.
This game, people think is going to be Game of the Year. So
I
already
see.
you're
Because
going
they've already
into it
got
with
too much
completely
expectations.
different eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're looking at
And
it
like
in a different
every
way.
time I speak to my brother about it, he's really excited. I'm like, the more excited you are, the less enjoyable it will be. Is at the end of the day, right? It's a different creative director, which is great.
Not always a bad thing, because FF7 Rebirth is a different creative director than Remake.
Yes.
But go ahead.
100%. So I don't know what it is, Jay. I'm just in my mind. I'm just not sure. Like, I just can't see Ragnarok up there with the likes of Elden Ring. But that's just me.
No, I think Elden Ring is definitely going to take it this year. I think God of War will probably win something to do with maybe like visuals, music, maybe. I don't even know at this point. Like, to me, honestly, I reckon they potentially should have released this next year.
Yeah, I do too.
Maybe even January. Honestly.
Yeah.
Because then they would have at least had a chance.
I personally think also, Jay, why don't you just do the 7 remake thing and just have 4 or 5 games in between each of the trilogy? Like, it doesn't really matter, does it?
What do you mean?
Well, for instance, Rebirth is going to be at least 4 or 5 years after remake, and Ragnarok, it has been 4 years to be fair, but I'm just not convinced this is 2 games. I don't believe you.
Well, unless
Santa
they do
Monica.
the classic thing where they just sort of they sort of tie it up sooner than they should have done. They do the classic mistake of trying to rush everything at the end and making it like some sort of convoluted reason as to why it ends.
But then you also don't want.
No, go on. You
go on.
Okay. I was going to say they're not going to want to do just 2. There's too much money. Too much money involved. But yeah, go on.
Yeah, sure. Well, but you also don't want to make the story too long and not end it, right? Like a Lost or whatever.
I think Ricky Gervais has a good thing about this, where he tends to only make 2 series of a show that he makes, because he knows if he goes on for too long, it'll just get worse.
Yeah.
Like, he does everything short and sweet. That's part of the reason why The Office was so good. Part of the reason why Derek's so good.
Extras.
Yeah,
Derek
extras.
Wasn't that good. Come on, you joking?
I like all the Ricky Gervais stuff. I'm a Ricky Gervais fan, so that's fine.
Sure.
Oh man.
Anyway.
So yeah, part of the reason why
we'll see how it turns out.
Well, I spoke about this. So this comes out November 9th.
Okay.
What comes out a day before this game? That I have a feeling Nick. Okay, so my first question is: Are you getting Ragnarok day 1? Are you paying full price? Are you paying full price, or are you waiting till potentially December Christmas sales January sales. Like, it's got to be something. Even if it's a new game, there's going to be some level of sale going on. Whether it'll be for that, I doubt it. Because you got to think, right? You could wait at least minimum 6 months. You're guaranteed to get the game cheaper. But will you pay the extra money to pay it sooner?
I'm going to be honest, Jay. I'm so invested in the story.
Oh,
okay, I know I was going to say, like, Nick, you just said blah, 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 blah. I don't. It is what it is. I'm so invested in the story, Jay. I might just have to get it day one to find out.
Horizon,
what
though.
Go on.
You didn't get that day one.
No, but there is more hype and more spoilers on God of War side than Horizon side.
Oh, so you mean that you're worried about there being spoilers online that you're going to see if you don't play the game?
Yes. Furthermore, Jay, don't do this to yourself. You haven't seen spoilers for God of War 2018, or you haven't seen the last battle?
I haven't seen. I've only of the entire game. I've seen a minute clip of someone playing it.
Okay.
That's it. I've seen one person playing a boss for like maybe 30 to 45 seconds, maybe.
Okay, fine.
So don't tell me anything.
I totally think that there'll be no, it's fine.
I'm good at avoiding spoilers. I'm really good at it.
Fair.
Even though I'm constantly on Twitter, I'm really good at avoiding it. I'm surprisingly good, honestly. It kind of annoys me.
To be fair, I avoided God of War spoilers for 2 years, so maybe it can be done.
I avoided all the spoilers for the Spider-Man movie, Far From Home, whatever it was. No Way Home, whatever. I avoided all the spoilers for every single Marvel movie that's come out in the last 2 or 3 years. So I mean, it's whatever. But so you're probably going to play that day one, huh?
I don't know, Jay.
Okay, so this is where my argument comes in. Skull and Bones, the Ubisoft Pirates game, comes out November 8th this year. So part of the reason why... So I did that classic thing of I looked at the game, I knew the game was like going to be announced and like talked about, and I sort of deliberately didn't get excited about it for like 3 years because I should have a while ago. And I was like, alright, well, I'll wait till I see gameplay, the usual J spiel, and so I'll sort of figure it out, right? So they finally showed it off, and I went into the trailer and the gameplay very skeptical. I was like, right, I need to go in this with very low expectations, and then I'll see where I am on the other end in 10 minutes from now. So I watched the whole thing, and I'd say maybe like 2 or 3 minutes into the gameplay trailer, I was like, yep, I'm 100% playing this game. And I'm probably going to get it day one, more than likely. So part of the reason is, me and you share a common memory with the game Sid Meier's Pirates. Do you remember this game? So
bad.
Hang on.
Okay, yeah,
so I have a feeling that you, as well as me, because I know I've had this feeling, so you may have felt the same way. I've wanted a game that has potentially given me that experience, but heightened, since I played that game in 2003, 2004 was the last time I played that game, maybe.
Sure.
I've wanted that same.
Compatible, by the way.
I know, it's insane. I've wanted that same level of like childhood glee that I got from that game, but in today's standards of like graphical fidelity and mechanics and whatever, what have you. And I feel like the closest I came to that was Black Flag. That was definitely like a stepping stone towards my imagination of what I had in my head. And I'm also a massive fan of One Piece. One Piece being all about pirates, and like that sort of like journey of like becoming a captain and having your crewmates and having battles and boss fights or whatever, what have you. And so Skull and Bones just seems right up my alley. So my question to you is, from what you've seen, do you see yourself playing this game either day one or at all? Because it is, I think, a live service game. There's no campaign, so it's just you go in, you start out on an island with nothing on you apart from your clothes, and you work your way up to a kingpin. Go ahead, Nick. Floor is yours. What are your thoughts? What have you thought about it?
I don't want to be a bad friend, Jay.
Yeah, go on.
But my honest thoughts are this. I definitely wanted, like, during this, I definitely got small hints of that Sid Meier's Pirates for sure. But ultimately, I think this is going to be a bad game.
Yeah.
And I think that you're going to sit. Speaking as a friend, I think you're going to regret getting this day one if you don't wait 2 weeks.
I have thoughts about that. I have thoughts.
Okay.
my thoughts about that are Pokemon comes out fairly soon after that, so chances are I wouldn't really have much time to play the game even if I wanted to. The game as it stands is like 70 quid just for the base, and I'm like, yeah, I don't want to pay that much money for a game that could potentially be awful. So yeah, I don't think I am going to get it day one. And I'm still looking at the game being like, this doesn't look fully done yet. Like, it's definitely like that. I almost feel like it would be a game where I'd probably run out of stuff to do fairly quickly to a degree. Um, but it also looks like a game that would be hard in other aspects where I'd be like, oh, I've got so much to do, I can't really like get this all done that quickly. So that's probably part of the reason why it's live service. But I definitely want to play this game. I'm just thinking about how soon I want to get it. Because what I might do is I might just save and just get this thing day one, to be honest, and just risk it. It might be one of my vetoes for the year of like, yeah, I'm just going to risk it and just, you know.
Yeah, sure.
Because chances are there's going to be a lot of marketing and a lot of stuff coming up before the game comes out. So in that last sort of 2 to 1 week before the game comes out, I'm going to really do my research, watch a hell of a lot of gameplay, as much as I possibly can, to sort of figure out where I stand in my mind about, you know, whether I'm comfortable spending that amount of money on a game that could potentially be bad. But I have a feeling that Ubisoft won't let it, because it's been in development for so long. So I reckon that, and I have a feeling that Ubisoft sort of need that new live service game that Anthem should have been, and what a couple of other games probably should have been. And they sort of need something that's going to keep people sticking around, because they've already got AC, they've already got Rainbow Six. I feel like Rainbow Six potentially is going to have its day at some point. So they're doing the smart thing of what I like game companies to do, and that they're starting fairly early with their process into looking ahead far in the future. I like it when companies do that. I think Bethesda have got a very similar mold too, where they look in the future and think, right, we need to make a game that's going to last and not, you know, and that's going to probably give us a fairly good amount of income, steady income over the next 1 to 5 years, hopefully. So I think this might just be my risk taker for the year. I'm just going to go for it and then, you know, see how we do. But I was so like, I'm even like in the trailer of like not the gameplay stuff. I was like, yeah, I don't think I can. I want to, but I don't think I can. And then yeah, like I say, a couple minutes into the gameplay, I was like, hang on, that's actually starting to look good. Like it's definitely rough around the edges. It definitely looks like it still needs to go through polish, which I think they're doing right now. Because what is it, July, August, September, October, November? Yeah, they're going to be in polish at least in the next. They're going to probably start. They either have started it, or they're going to start it any day now, basically. Because you really want polish to be anywhere between 3 and 6 months. So yeah, I reckon they're just sorting out all the small stuff now. But I'm really hoping that this is like they just hit it out of the park. Ubisoft they don't really need a great game, but it would just be good to have Ubisoft almost, because to me Ubisoft are almost in my bad books to a degree. Like they almost feel like a Blizzard in that they have let people down in some instances, even though I can't really pinpoint exactly where. It just like that, and BioWare to me, a lot of game companies recently have made me feel like they don't feel as safe as they used to. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like I feel like safe companies are like Bethesda are fairly safe.
Ish. I said more FromSoft, to be honest with you.
FromSoft are pretty safe.
Yeah. Rockstar,
Rockstar
blah.
fairly safe. Like you got all these safe ones, but there's almost like a spectrum, right? And I feel like Ubisoft, Blizzard, and BioWare, all for me, are sort of riding that line between safe and not quite. So I want them to do well, and I want them for this to be successful, because it just looks. I want to have fun with it. I really want to like get that you know. I want to be excited about something that's live service, because there's not really a lot right now. I want that feeling I had before Destiny came out. Like before Destiny 1 came out, I was deep in that. I was deep in the well of like, I want to know every detail. Any bit of news that came out, I was on it. I was so on it, and I kind of want to have the same thing with this. So I'm going to be following it fairly closely, I reckon. And it doesn't sound to me like you share the same enthusiasm necessarily. I was kind of hoping you would, because I really wanted to play this with you, but you know.
I appreciate that.
What I hope is that in the future, if the game becomes cheaper and you feel like, yes, I'll give it a go now, it'll still be around hopefully in a year or two. Right. So I'm hoping that you can come to it late and I can help you get to my level by that point. Hopefully, that's kind of what I'm hoping.
If it's like, if it's free to play or on Game Pass, whatever, I'll definitely jump in.
Okay.
Or if it's like dirt cheap, I'll jump in, right? But yeah, dude, I went in with a very open mind for that, but
Yeah, me too.
unfortunately, yeah, it just, you know, live service game, resource collecting. It didn't really look like you could walk around much outside of your ship either.
Yeah, you can. I mean, from what I saw, I think you could, but it just depends. I
fair.
don't know. We have to wait and see.
Well, yeah,
I say, they didn't show off much. They showed off a lot, but it wasn't like everything, obviously.
I wouldn't have been that bothered if we just got basically a multiplayer Black Flag, personally, like with ships.
I mean, yeah, I mean that's kind of what it is, to a degree.
Yeah.
You know, like it's a much more fleshed out version of that. A Black Flag multiplayer is basically that.
Yeah, I wish I liked it more than I did, mate. But unfortunately, yeah, it wasn't capturing. But I did definitely kind of get that, you know, Sid Meier's Pirates thing.
I mean, you came around to Destiny at one point. You came around to Outsiders, so I have a feeling you'll come around to like Riders, live service games. This one potentially.
Totally.
So we'll see. I mean, I mean, I was going to make a comment about how this game is basically like Black Flag was the foundation of this game. Like they probably took that and went right. Let's just take that. Scrap everything out, start again, same mechanics, and just evolve from that. Like the fact that they already had so much, you know, I reckon this game would have taken at least another 2 to 3 years to come out if Black Flag never existed. Maybe. People have been waiting for this game for so long too, because I think they announced it in 2018. I think.
Oh my god.
It was E3 2018, so it's 4 years ago they announced it, and I think then it was in like pre-alpha, so it might have even been in post-production. I don't know.
Jeez.
Hard to say.
So you don't know whether you're getting this day one yet?
I'm like 80% sure I am. It's like 80, 85. Like it all rides on what I see before the game comes out. To be honest, like in that sort of like marketing 2 to 1 weeks, we'll probably get like a 15-minute gameplay trailer at some point. We'll probably get like some streamers maybe, or maybe some level of content creator maybe getting their hands on it a couple of days before or something. You know.
What about go on.
I wouldn't be surprised if Ubisoft in the future do some sort of thing where you can play the game like 3 days early to get a head start.
Sure.
Much like in the way that EA does with a lot of their games.
I would have thought, Jay, if you did want to play a pirate game like that, you would have just jumped into Sea of Thieves, to be honest.
This is the funny thing. Sea of Thieves doesn't seem as accessible to me as this one does.
Wow, that is interesting.
Yeah, Sea of Thieves I've always looked at and gone, not really my bag. Like it's a little too PC. Does that make sense? Do you understand what I mean? Like some games to me look like they're not designed for consoles much.
Oh sure.
And this Skull and Bones feels a lot more console developed than what Sea of Thieves does. Sea of Thieves to me doesn't almost feel like it has as much of a visible progression as much as Skull and Bones does. Like there's an infamy thing, right? So you can see your progression. It almost feels a little bit like the Ghost of Tsushima level up thing, where you sort of gained infamy and you became the Ghost eventually. Like it feels like that, but longer. Like you have to have that, but it feels like Ghost but stretched out. And I like that idea.
Yeah.
It almost feels like a challenge of like, can I get to Kingpin? Because apparently, from what they said in the interview, was like once you get to the end level of infamy, there's like another level after that. There's like more. There's like an end game after the end game kind of thing, you know. So I kind of want to see what that is. Whether that's to do with like, I don't know, some sort of like, I don't know. I can't even imagine it. I just want to know what happens, you know. I want to see if it's possible for me to get that far and be able to maintain it. As well.
When people talk about the end game of an end game, I just think there's nothing that you can. There's no way you would put in super sick stuff that far into the game. You know what I mean?
I hope so. I hope that we're both proven wrong, because I want to see it so bad.
Sure.
The thing I'm a little bit skeptical about is the customization so far. Like I kind of want to see a bit more of that, but also the pre-order thing doesn't seem too great at the minute. Like it's literally you're having to pay like an extra 20 quid just for 2 missions and like an art book. I'm like, yeah, that's not. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. That's just gross. I kind of wish they'd added like more of an incentive. To be honest,
I would definitely just keep researching it, Jane. Just keep us up to date. 100%. Yeah, because I'm glad you like the look of it.
I'm looking forward to it. It's on my list now of games that I'm probably going to be playing this year, more than likely. I got
Jay,
Gotham Knights,
so controversial.
Skull and Bones, and Pokemon are my 3 I'm most looking forward to at the minute.
What? When's Gotham Knights coming out?
October 25th.
As well? A busy month, isn't it?
Yeah. Say again? What?
Busy month.
What,
busy
October?
Month, November.
Oh, November.
Oh, I thought you said October. Oh.
I did say October.
I thought you said November. I thought you said November.
Yeah, October 25th. I've still got to take some time off work to be able to play it.
Fair.
October. I'm just debating now. It might actually be worth. No, I can't do that. I don't want to take time off. No, because basically, I've got Pokemon in the middle of November. I got Skull and Bones at the beginning of November, and I've got Gotham Knights at the end of October. So those like 3 weeks are going to be absolutely packed.
Packed.
Almost 4
Right,
weeks.
Jay, should we move on?
Yeah, go on then.
What's the next
Where
news story?
Are we next? Oh, I think that was it. Like it was basically.
Did we do all of them?
I mean, yeah, it was basically just the other ones were just about Skull and Bones, honestly.
Damn.
The release date, the announcement. Oh, okay. I guess the other thing was Assassin's Creed are having, or I think Ubisoft are having some sort of September showcase, which we already talked about, but I think they're going to involve Skull and Bones in that as well. So.
Sick. Okay.
Yeah, that was
quick update on ACJ. I have one mission to do left on the Mastery Challenge 2 thing, and oh, by the way, I finished Ragnarok. We should have. Yeah, I definitely should have told you that. Do you still want to record a special for that?
You finished Ragnarok?
Yeah. AC.
Oh, you mean AC? I was like, what the hell do you mean? I thought you were talking about God of War. I was like, that's not out yet. Yeah, we should do something with that, I guess. I don't know if it'll be a special. That might just be like a topic for 1 week. Yeah.
Sick. All right, we'll do it next week then. That's fine because I won't have played much since then. So yeah, we'll do that next week. So do your research, Jay. Prep up again on all the stuff in Dawn of Ragnarok. Remind yourself a little bit. But anyway, I had one challenge left on the second set of master challenges, and I think there's a glitch in it, Jay, because you basically have to nick a key from a guard and then unlock a prisoner, and every time I get the key, it doesn't pop up to show that I've got the key. So yeah.
Yeah. So is that like bugged out a trophy then, or an achievement?
Well, potentially, yeah. Ultimately,
yeah, that same thing happened to me with my main game. But yeah, I think I've had the same thing. I think that there is a way around it. I recommend just looking it up.
Okay.
Because I think I had the same thing. There was like a key that I couldn't like do something with, and yeah.
Okay. I was getting a bit stressed out because I've been doing that challenge for quite a bit. So yeah, I did uninstall it, but that's not the here nor there. All right, Jake, let's finish the show. No guest review this week because I've decided that we're going to just do Pixel Perfect instead.
Oh, Pog, yeah.
So please take us to the screen. For those who don't know, basically the production team have pixelated some cover art and Jay's got to guess it. So without further ado, Jay. Oh, there's a theme, by the way. There is a theme. So without further ado, this is mainly visual. Jay will try and describe it for your audio pleasure.
Is this
Any
like a...
ideas, Jay?
I don't know if this is on purpose, but I can see a name of something at the top. Is that on purpose?
Oh. Oh, no.
Oh, no, indeed.
No. Jay,
that
no, is the production team. Right, don't look. Please don't look. Jesus Christ.
Do you know what's funny? I wouldn't have got
it. I've told him to not do that so many times. El, you have ruined this week.
That's just the first one.
Ruined. Oh, for God's sake.
That's funny. Do you know what? I definitely wouldn't have got that.
You wouldn't have got. What does it look like anyway?
It looks like Sonic, but like a really messed up version of Sonic.
Very good.
Thing is, I don't think I even. It's funny. I've got a picture in my head of what that game is, and that's not what I have in my head. I don't remember it being that blue.
Yeah, I'm wondering whether there's a European and USA cover.
There might be a different
cover. I don't remember
it
being that being that blue either.
I remember it being a bit more.
Have you played Demon's Souls at all, by the way?
No, but I've watched someone play through it.
Fair.
It's kind of rough to watch someone play that. To be honest, it's very like it's like even more basic than Dark Souls. It's like super like not good to look at, you know.
Well, obviously they've got the remake now, made by
Yeah, that is actually kind of
Bluepoint.
nice to watch people play, but in comparison.
Yeah, no, forget it. Can't find another one. So yes, very good, very good.
Oh
There it
wow,
is.
yeah, that is the
PS3
cover.
glory.
Bloody hell.
Yeah.
Totally forgot about that. I swear there is a
All right,
different
Jay.
cover,
Next
but
up.
I don't know. Yeah, I recommend I'm gonna cover the top just because I can see the name of
No,
whatever
it's
it
all right.
is.
Don't worry. I've sorted it. I've sorted it, Jay.
Are you
I've sorted them.
sure? Can I
Yeah,
move
yeah,
my
yeah.
hand?
You can. Let me just
Oh,
quickly
thank
check.
God for that.
Hold on. Let me just quickly
Okay,
check.
okay,
Everyone gets a sneak peek. Yeah, we're good. We're good. We're good.
okay.
You good?
Well, it's a 360 game. I can tell that right away.
Ooh. Ooh ah.
I honestly have no clue what this is. Do you know what?
I'm going to give you a clue, Jay. I think you might have already had this game on Pixel Perfect, but I could be wrong
I
about
don't
that.
think so. It's weird. The top part looks like eyes of like a bug or something,
Sure.
but it also almost looks like a J and an O for some reason. I honestly, I know I'm not going to get this. I ain't got a bloody clue. Like this,
See, that's
this
crazy
is
because when
way
I
too
see it
difficult.
on Discord, yeah. Anyway,
I honestly don't think I know what this game is. Like it almost looks like there's like a jungle in the background, and then there's like a moon in the top right for some reason. No, this is
Any
like,
ideas?
no,
No.
not even close.
It is Ninja Blade.
Oh my God!
Any
That's
do you
from
remember this game
Soft.
still?
I do and I don't. I'm actually curious to remember because I don't know. I don't think I played this, but I remember looking at it being like, oh, I want to get that. Actually, I want to see some gameplay. Hang on, I'm really curious now.
It's a hack and slash type game where
Yeah,
I
I
think there's an
remember.
alien invasion in Tokyo or something like that. I played it. Remember it being quite difficult, to be quite honest with you. Is only my memory of it. But
So did this
but
come
there
out?
we
This
are.
came out after Dark Souls?
Nah, 2000 and let me tell you, 2009.
So the same year as Dark Souls.
Nah, is that the same year as
Dark
Dark
Souls
Souls?
2009, yeah.
Demon Souls, same year as Demon Souls.
Demon Souls, okay. So I guess this was
Yeah.
like almost like a test then.
Yeah, well, interesting you say that, Jay, because I'm looking at FromSoft's games now, and they made a lot of games each year
They did,
for like
yeah.
a long time, like a
Probably
lot of
part of the
games.
reason why the quality wasn't the best for a lot of them, right?
Right. I don't remember Ninja Blade being that good,
Wow.
to be honest with you.
Nope, definitely a very forgettable game. Jesus Christ, that
Also,
is a
there's a lot
weird
of
looking
armored
game.
cores too. Yeah.
Yeah, we
I'm gonna
spoke
have to
about
look
that,
at
didn't we?
game. We did. I'm gonna have to look at that game. Like, yeah, like Demon Souls looks like it was in amongst all the other games, right? But then I guess they decided that Demon Souls was the one they liked or something. You know,
It's probably the one
I
that
don't
did the
really.
best, I guess. Although I
Yeah.
think they actually only sold 50,000 copies of Dark Souls when it first came out. Didn't do very well.
Crikey.
And then about 2 years
Still
later,
making
they hit
armored
like a
core.
mil or something.
Sure.
I'm actually curious to see how many Dark Souls sales they've got now. Just the first one.
Sure.
Yeah, I would have never got that. Jesus Christ. This is a very hard one.
Very difficult. All right, Jay. Last
I
up.
imagine the theme is From Software. Oh yeah, okay. We end with an easy one. Okay, so I'll tell you what it looks like. It kind of, you know what my first thought was? My first thought was it almost looks like a worm or like a snake that has like a yellow eye. You see that?
Yes, I do.
It's like a yellow eye, and then it kind of like almost S's around.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
But it almost looks like, it's funny. The game I'm playing currently has these like little purple worms that you can collect. That's kind of what it reminded me of, really. But then I saw the actual thing, and I was like, yeah, okay, not there. So this is Sekiro. Sekiro dies twice.
It
if you want
is
to be,
Sekiro.
if you want to be.
Well done, Jay. Good
yeah.
week. Good week. Well,
Jesus Christ.
yeah, no, not good week actually, but still good. Good.
That's
very
funny.
good.
Yeah. So Dark Souls
go on.
1. Well, funnily enough, they said they sold 2.37 million units worldwide in 2013. So I reckon since then it's probably a lot more.
How many units? Sorry.
2.37 in 2013.
Wow, that's crazy.
They went from 50,000 with the first year, and then in 2012 they went up to 1.1 mil, and then in 2013 went to 2.37. Oh, this is curious. There's an updated list here of how many each one has sold. Do you want to know?
Yeah, go on.
So Demon Souls has sold 1 million copies since release.
Hold a minute, is that the original or the Blue Point one?
The original.
That's crazy.
Definitely not the
okay.
Blue Point. So 1 million since Demon Souls for the first one. Bloodborne has only sold 2 million copies worldwide.
That's fucking...
Out of the six Souls games that have been made, it is the second least sold.
That's mental.
I know, considering that it's probably it probably is the best one in the series, other than Elden Ring. Dark Souls 2 with 2.5 mil. Sekiro has sold 5.
Yeah. I thought Jay. I thought we already. No, you're right. Sorry, go on. Crack on.
Dark Souls 1 has sold 5.5. So it has outsold Sekiro. And Dark Souls 3 has sold 10 million copies.
Wow. And then Elden Ring sold what? 50 over 15?
I'm going to have to look. Hang on. I'm curious now. This is some great stuff. Hang on. Elden Ring sales numbers. 13.4.
Nice.
Holy crap.
I didn't realise Dark Souls 3 sold that well, actually, to be honest with you.
Yeah, a lot of people are looking forward to it, man.
Yeah.
It was a good time.
No, I remember it hitting the hype, to be honest, at the time, but that's just me.
It was a great game. So what was your choice around playing the third one before the fourth one? Or the second one, sorry.
I thought Dark Souls 3 would actually be more accessible than 2, to truth be told.
I guess so. I don't necessarily think there's a story that you need to follow. I mean, you can look it up, but it's up to you.
Oh, no, I just meant like from gameplay, like...
Yeah, sure. I know what you mean, yeah.
Like, I just think Dark Souls 3 seemed a bit more mainstream, so I thought Dark Souls 2 is a little bit of the is the ugly duckling, isn't it, of the series for whatever reason.
Yeah,
so
I guess.
I just assumed that it was either harder or a bit more boring, or you know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
So
I remember Dark Souls 2 had a very I don't know. It's just got a really nice place in my memory.
Fair play. Jay, take us home. Take us home. Oh, that's my camera.
There we are.
Very good. Well, good week, Jay. Very, very good week for us. What are you going to be playing for the next week or so?
I think it is going to be Atelier Rise 2. That's probably going to be my main focus, I imagine.
Nice.
Yeah, I can't... I'm still trying to debate on what I want to do, because there's supposed to be a couple good mobile games coming out end of July, so by the time I finish Atelier, it probably should be roughly middle to the end of July, so hopefully I'll be able to concentrate on that until July, August. I don't think there's anything coming out in August necessarily. I think we're just waiting for October now, aren't we?
Yeah, we sure are.
Yeah,
I don't think so. Yeah, we're pretty much there, right? We're in the middle of summer gaming, a very good topic for me and Jay that we've spoke about, and we're pretty much there, right? We're just waiting for the big releases. Have we even got much in September this year, Jay? I'm not even sure, to be honest with you.
Games that I know you might be interested in for the rest of this. Okay, so this is actually something I want to bring up too. Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy is getting a DLC in July.
Is it really?
Yeah, so I'm hoping the game comes down in price, because if it is, I'm definitely grabbing that.
I didn't see much staying power with it, you know what I mean?
What do you mean?
Well, like, I didn't... Because a lot of people, when it came out, said it's quite anime and it's kind of funny, but the gameplay's pretty good.
I've seen a lot of people say that it's probably one of the most underrated games of this year. So I don't know. I'm keeping an eye. If it comes to low enough price, I'm going to grab it. So I'm hoping that with the DLC release, they'll hopefully do some sort of deal. I'm going to keep an eye on that.
Okay.
Anything else that me and you might be interested in between now and end of the year?
Well, I'm just going to be playing loads of, like, catching up on loads of stuff I want to complete before anything else comes out this year. But truth be told, Jay,
I might do God of War, honestly. That might be another thing I do sooner.
I say nothing. I say nothing. But I might get God of War brand new, but I think that's pretty much the only game I would get brand new for the rest of the year. Apart
Yeah,
from
I
I've
think
got Horizon I want to buy, but
so yeah, Gotham Knights, Skull and Bones, and Pokemon are my three sort of day one games. It feels like this year.
yeah.
Saints
I've now
Row
got
is
all the
coming
Dark
out,
Souls
but
games to play through, which is
I
a
don't
bit.
think. I mean,
You don't. Yes, no. Saints Row's a no.
yeah. The Golem game comes out September.
Oh, Jay, that looks bad.
Yeah, I'm not holding my breath on that one. Oh, hang on. Oh, how did I forget about this? I didn't realize it was coming out so soon. Oh my god. Okay, so there's a game called Steel Rising. You heard of this?
Not really.
I think it's a Souls-like. I'm not 100% sure, but it's a bit like it's got a similar feel to like Dishonored as well, in terms of its visual, in terms of like the time frame. But I think it's supposed to be like a world where in like revolutionary France, people have like these automatons that are just like robots that were around for the time. But there's some sort of like thing where you can control an automaton that's like got a mind of its own and it can like go and fight stuff. It's a little bit like Nier Automata mixed with Dishonored and Dark Souls potentially.
Okay.
So that comes out September. That's probably another one I'm going to grab.
Is that like a AA game then?
Sort of in between double and triple. That's one I'm just going to keep my eye on. I totally forgot I didn't realize that was coming out so soon. There's another game called Evil West I'm keeping my eye on. I haven't actually seen the gameplay trailer for that yet, so I'll let you know about that one.
No worries.
Valkyrie Elysium, and then Overwatch 2. Forgot about that, October.
Right.
Midnight Suns, potentially. Gotta keep an eye on that.
You've got a lot of games.
Yeah, and then Gotham Knights. The new Star Ocean game looks good.
Yeah, there's a lot.
And then, wow, there's a lot more
As
than I remember.
I've just got a few. I'm hoping that I can catch up on most of mine before anything else comes out, truth be told, Jay. But now I've got like all these Dark Souls games, which is...
Well, there's no rush with those.
I feel like every time...
Because I don't know when
every time I get like in a good place and my back was like in my library of games I want to finish. Every time I get in a good place, I feel like I just add more in there. It's probably just because I do.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Games keep releasing. That's something we can't really, as time goes on, games aren't going to stop releasing. So you're going to have more added to the list.
Mate, Plague Tale Requiem. Very excited to play that day one on Gamepass. Very excited. What were you going to say? Sorry.
I can't remember now. I don't matter. It's all good. There's just a lot to look forward to.
Remember
already.
In the meantime, Jay, when do you think we start the show? Because I'm trying to find a date and I can't really find a date. Because I thought we started it in summer 2020, personally.
Well, I started work.
Making that up?
Oh yeah, we did do it during 2020. I want to say it was like. Well, if you go on the YouTube and look up, because I know we haven't got our first podcast on there. But we do have,
did
like,
I
the
put
second,
did I put it on the right day on YouTube? Because I didn't know whether I started to uploading to YouTube later. I can't remember.
Well, I mean it's roughly, isn't it? So the earliest one we have on there is we do have we have technically the first one, but you uploaded the 9th one first. So if you do 2 years ago and then minus 9 weeks, that's roughly when we started.
So like May?
So July, so like April, May. I think it might have been April, honestly.
Okay, we just need to decide what our anniversary actually is. So should we just look at the?
It would be great. I mean, it might. Yeah. I mean, it'd be good if we actually knew, but we don't, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. We can just make it.
I'm pretty sure it was April. It'd be great if it was April because it's like a good.
I'm gonna say. Oh.
Because you got to think, right? Furlough started. Oh no, it couldn't have been April. It might have even been end of April, May, because furlough started and we started the podcast after we all came off for COVID, right? And I finished work end of March, beginning of April. And I feel like we started the podcast like right around that time. It must have been at least maybe a month and a half after that. So I reckon it might have even been May.
Should we say
June?
The 16th of May?
Sure. Whatever.
Okay, cool.
I don't really mind. It's a bit of a shame we don't remember.
Well, we've got fans. They can tell us if they care.
Oh
they
God.
Don't. Podcast anniversary. No, I say fans, listeners. We have listeners. That's fine. I mean, we've made it up. Me and Indy had to make our anniversary up because we couldn't remember either. So.
Oh, here you go.
That's what it is.
Here you go.
Jay, let's close out
Hang
the
on.
show. Go on.
The TGO show number 3 doc was created on the 4th of April, 2020.
Oh.
So it would have even been before that we started the podcast.
But we recorded the first few episodes much earlier than they were launched, to be fair.
Yeah, so our anniversary might have been more like March 2020. Maybe even February, like late February. It'd be funny if our anniversary was February 29th. Hang on, when was the last leap year? I'm actually curious.
that is quite funny. Let's go 21st of March then. We happy with that?
You're not going to believe this.
What?
The last leap year was 2020, so there would have been a February 29th that year.
Oh, I know, yeah. I thought that's why you made a joke.
No, I didn't even realise. I was like, what?
What? Funny. Let's go 21st of March then.
Sure.
Cool.
So is that the first day of spring?
Yeah, the day before, yes.
No, I'm pretty sure the first.
No, that's the week
first
after.
Day of every.
29th.
I thought it was always 21st of the month.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
You're talking about summertime begins.
I know 21st.
Anyway,
of June.
Jay, let's get out of here.
Okay.
We're people don't want to listen to this. People don't want to listen to it anyway.
Cut this. Right, cool.
Have a good week, everyone.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you all next week with slightly less exciting gaming news and gaming adventures, but alas, you'll still come in and join us, I suppose, if you want to. And we will see you all soon.
All right. Peace.